Hey, welcome back to another Montreal Canadian Notebook Show with hockey coach Francis directly for the beautiful contre Italian on amazing great Wednesday night on March 19, 2025. And I don't know how you feel about that, but you have to feel good because Montreal Canadian huge W last night against the Ottawa Senators by the score 6-3. Of course, going to talk about the Montreal Canadian. Of course, going to talk about the playoff for the Montreal Canadian. Of course, going to talk about all the news around the Montreal Canadian. And we're going to follow up at what's going on with the Laval Rocket right now in action tonight. Again, the Toronto Marlins 1-0 with 4 minutes to go remaining on this game, on this second period. It's Laurent Dauphin score his 20 goal of the season to give the lead to the Rocket with a goal on a short-ended, very physical game. Great game by Primo. And David Rebacker plays. So we're going to talk about all this fun news about the Montreal Canadiens. This is the place to be if you want to talk about the Montreal Canadiens every single night when the Montreal are not in action. We talk about the Montreal Canadiens. Sometimes at 8:30, sometimes at 9, sometimes at 10. It's never happens. Sometimes we have to follow up what's going on around the NHL. That's the reason a notebook show is not possible with both of them back in the house for another week. We missed one of them for the last couple of weeks. It was too busy, but now he's back in the house talking about the Montreal Canadiens. And both of them are excited about the next 15 games for the remaining of the Montreal Canadiens for the end of the season 2024-25. It's directly from Toronto. It's directly from Hawkesbury. Back in the house tonight. Mr. Enartap and Mr. Marco Larrabee are in the house.
Hello, Coach. Hello, Marco. Hello, Hockey Nation.
Hey. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Springtime is in the air. Playoffs are coming. I'm finding my dog's poop in the backyard under the snow. It's all springtime, and it's awesome. I love it.
And a happy San Giuseppe Day today to everybody
Oh,
who
okay.
has a name of Joe. I hope you had your zeppole. It's an Italian customary dessert treat. So for all the
Okay.
Joes out there, congratulations.
It's an Italian holiday just for people called Joe?
Well, it's after the Saint San Giuseppe,
Oh, okay.
right? Saint Joseph,
Okay.
Saint Joseph. So it's
Okay.
it's customary that every year they make this very nice dessert called a zeppola, like Led Zeppelin
Zeppola.
almost.
Okay. Wow.
And
Right.
it's good. It's great, amazing.
Glad to hear
Amazing.
that for that celebration. And glad to see both of you with us tonight on the great Notebook Show. We miss you, Marco. I know last week was too busy, but in the circumstance of the schedule, Montreal Canadian NHL make a conflict to come bring you back last week. But glad to see Marco has been the regular host, co-host of the Notebooks in the beginning of the season, and then after that, joined us at spent moment during the year. So glad to see you, Mr. Nata, second time of the week after we did the weekly report together Sunday and send that many things happening in our taps and that night for the Montreal Canadiens on many ways. That's the reason we talk about everything for the Montreal Canadiens tonight. And honestly, for all of you tonight, the subject we bring on the table, guys, it's a team effort for the Montreal Canadiens. The reason they beat the Ottawa Senator, but of course, not only the Ottawa Senator, but of the record of 8-1-2 in the last 11 game. It's not only a particular one specific player, but more like a team effort. And that's the reason I'm going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, the way how they win this game in the last couple of games, and who behind the scenes and make a big, huge difference for the Montreal Canadiens. So a lot of things to talk about this, guys. I don't know if you are like me, both of you, but also the people in the chat. This is a long time I did not feel that kind of excitement and about the Montreal Canadiens. And we have to go all the way on the playoff 2021 to feel the fans at the Bell Center and, of course, around the Montreal Canadiens and the media everywhere talking about the Montreal Canadiens. So when it's when happening this way, it's like the life is so different for everybody. It's like it's so fun to see that and more positive for everybody. And this show, guys, is impossible with many people in the chat, and they are already talking about Montreal Canadiens. So why not to work on that very quickly? Another man is in the house. Sebastian number 2 knocked the door tonight. Welcome back. RJ Calabro is in the house with all its fun news for the Montreal Canadiens and the NHL. Simon Deschênes from Shawinigan is in the house. Welcome back. Thanks for being a part of the show. And the Laval Rockets score another goal from
Larry
Laurent Dauphin, I
Dolphin
believe.
again.
Right?
Yeah, Larry Dolphin.
There we go. Laval lead 2-0. Dauphin, really an important key, veteran player in an American Hockey League, first of all. But this is a great Tissi Laurent to score his second goal of the game, the 21st of the season, to give that double, to give it that lead by 2 goals. A shot of Logan Mailloux from Sean Farrell, by the way. So Farrell consists to add another straight point of his great season. He has 25 points now in 18 games for Sean Farrell. Amazing turnover for him. David Archer is in the house. Welcome back. Ron Moderator is in the house. We have also Dan Asham and Colette from Winnipeg. Winnipeg lost last night. Really a big game, 6-2. I did not watch it, I'll be honest with you. Usually I watch those games, but I was too excited about the Montreal Canadiens win. I had to watch again the Montreal Canadiens game, and so I was not into the Vancouver Canucks at all, honestly. Bush from Vermont is in the house. Welcome back. PLW go with Charlie Coyle tonight. Now we have another Montreal Canadiens player hurt, and the Laval Rocket hurt in the corner. He cannot stand back on his feet. We have to see who is going to be with one knee, one leg.
Oh, no, it's Mailloux. I think it's Mailloux.
Look like it's Mailloux. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Not good.
Hopefully, just escape. Hopefully, or did he block a shot or something? Or
I did not know. I did not see it, honestly.
Yeah.
I just see him in front of the net, in front of. He's sitting on the ice right now.
He's hopping.
He filled the paint right there.
Yeah. He's not putting any weight on his leg. Straight to the dressing room.
Not a good sign.
No, it's not just a block shot. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what happened, guys. It is a block shot right on his ankle. Okay. That's not great, but it's not like a ligament or something like that. So hopefully they can numb it and
we'll see. Right there inside the inside of the outside skate, by the way. But
yeah. Okay, at least he didn't like twist his knee.
Sure.
Yeah, he didn't twist his knee or something like that. So it's
good. So everybody, we just live right now to see what's going on. So we want to report to you what's going on. Steven is in the house. Welcome back. Woody Snyder with the moves is in the house. 2 only game in NHL, 1 in action right now. Colorado versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Woody talk about is Colorado. Tied the game 1-1. Nikushkin score is 18 goal. And Matthews score another goal, 3-7 for Matthews tonight. On that one, we have Christian Shaw is in the house. Luc Fortin, Mac Elliott is in the house. And then we have N26. Welcome back. Thanks for being a part of the show. Keller also is in the house. Thanks everybody to be a part of the show tonight. Don't forget, please, to subscribe. Click on the like. We have a penalty for the Laval Rocket. Extra, I believe, for holding.
Yeah. While you're on the topic of Nichushkin, though, Coach.
Yep.
If there's a player that Slav should model himself after, that's the guy. Like, he talked about Tkachuk. Like, I think he's not mean enough to be Tkachuk. He talked about Draisaitl recently, wanting to play like Draisaitl. He's not skilled enough. Nichushkin is like right in the middle of Tkachuk and Draisaitl in terms of style.
Yeah.
That would be if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, that's the tape that I'm showing Slavkovsky how I want it to play.
Prototypical power forward. Yeah.
Sure.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being part of the PLW. Talk about the O'Donnell hit a home run today for the Los Angeles Dodgers today. I don't know, at some point, I think it was not 5-1 at some point.
Yeah, they started Major League Baseball started their season in Japan, so we can wake up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and you can watch baseball, which is kind of fun.
Yeah,
sure.
Why not?
Sleep is overrated, anyways.
I think Toronto Maple Leafs are willing to play at the beginning season every year in Tokyo, Monsieur Nartap.
I hope they emigrate there.
Yeah, exactly. I think Luciano is going to follow them all the way to Tokyo, Monsieur Nartap.
Imagine if Leafs fans
Sure
had to
would.
get up at 6 in the morning to watch the game.
Billy is in the
They
house.
got
Welcome back, Billy. Thanks to be a part of the show, guys. Like we do at the beginning of the show, when we do the notebook with Marco, we talk about I almost said the deadline, but the headlines of the Montreal Canadiens. And tonight we have three of them. I'm going to start with Marco. And the first one, Marco, is you have to teach me because he said to me, I'm pretty sure you don't know what I'm talking about. And I was said that you're absolutely right about this because Mr. Natap, movies and music.
no.
It's not your alley. It's
I
not up your
cannot.
alley.
sure-
I cannot do anything about
Yeah.
that. I cannot.
Yeah.
The only
This
one
headline
I
is
remember
definitely
is Cameron Diaz. That's pretty much
Okay.
what I remember. Cameron Diaz. That's pretty much
Okay.
on that one over there.
We know, Coach. And
And
Shania Twain.
that's-
We know. We know.
Andra Bullock. And I still suck with Rudy, Mr. Natap. So I'm watching Rudy every
Sandra
year.
Bullock.
So that's pretty much my my Hall of Famer. Anyway, Mr. Marco, you are on the spot.
Yeah, this headline definitely not for Coach, but I'm assuming most people here would have seen the movie The Matrix. So I'll
Absolutely.
I'll do my little impression like, hello, Mr. Anderson. So for those of you who don't know, so in The Matrix, Keanu Reeves is Neo, and he's the chosen one, and he has all these like AI robots running after him, trying to kill him. And in that movie, if you've seen it, then you know that Neo, or Keanu Reeves' character, he goes through a lot in that movie, right? Like, and he never seems to get hurt because he's in the Matrix. He gets shot at, he falls, but he always comes back for more. So kind of reminded me of our Josh Anderson. So I just wanted to kind of give a little shout out because Josh Anderson, we've been talking about him for months, right? Like just about how much of a warrior he is. But I think last night it was just kind of the epic climax of that journey of him just being putting the team on his back in terms of effort, in terms of culture. If you saw the pregame press conference, I loved his approach. Like, he was really focused. You could see that he all the right answers. They don't interview Josh Anderson as much as some of the other guys, maybe again because he's too busy on the trainer's table just getting treatments and stuff like that. But when we do get to hear him talk, you can see why he's an influential guy in the dressing room. Above the fact that he's fighting through injury, as we know, and still coming every game, giving all the effort, being physical. And like, he hasn't lost any of his speed. Like, whatever it is that he's dealing with, guys, it's not affecting his skating, right? Like, he's still really fast, can still play really physical. So yeah, just a little nod here to Mr. Anderson and how resilient he is. I don't know if he's the chosen one, like Coach, you should go watch The Matrix, by the way, if you haven't seen it. It's an amazing movie, probably one of the best movies of the 1990s, I would say. That's very good. But so he's not the chosen one like Neo from The Matrix, but I think if I had to choose somebody from the Montreal Canadiens to go into The Matrix, take a beating, and still come out and still give it his full effort, I would choose Josh Anderson. So, thoughts on Mr. Anderson, Entertap?
And Marco, what a difference a year makes, eh? Like, you would think last year when we were talking about him, we were ready to tar and feather him and put him in the Turkey Awards, and we couldn't understand how he could fall so low. And he hit the bottom of the barrel, but he rebounded nicely, and I think a lot of that credit has to go to Marty St. Louis, who sort of kept encouraging him and then put him in defined roles that he felt, you know what, this is something you can handle. You can do it with the talents you have, the tools you have. Don't worry about the fact that, because I think it got into his own head that he felt like he had to be a perennial 2025 goal scorer every year. And so when he wasn't doing it, it was, having effects on the rest of his game. But I think he's embraced what he's doing now very well, and the team loves him. He loves being there, as we saw yesterday when they interviewed him after the game. So it's good news all around. You hope that many of players make this kind of a transformation.
And just to piggyback on what you said first before you go, Coach, is and when you talked about Martin Saint Louis, I think it's come out recently that last year, like how we heard a lot about how Saint Louis was like reviewing a lot of video with him. He was trying to get him to like refine his game and do all like So I think to Martin Saint Louis' credit, remember last year he used to joke around all the time about how Josh Anderson's software isn't equipped to deal with all the sophisticated things, that Martin Saint Louis was trying to program inside. It's like if you have like a BlackBerry phone from 1999, but you're trying to install like Chat GPT on it, it's just not going to work, right? So to Martin Saint Louis' credit, he took a step back and just is leaving him more alone. Josh Anderson went and saw we just heard recently he went back to go look at tapes of how he played against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round of the playoffs. And he really modeled his game going into this year based on that. So sometimes, and we talked to St. Louis does this, right? He knows when to go in and really work closely with the player, but he also knows sometimes when to step back and when it's too much information, when it's just clouding the player's mind. So good on Martin St. Louis there.
Great comments about Josh. I don't know if you did it. I apologize. I tried to match up sometime in the chat, so But I think one thing I have to give credit. We need to give credit to Josh Anderson is like at the end of the season last year, like he took 2 weeks off after that, and then he returned skating every day at the complex for it's not the complex anymore, but the complex CN. I think they call that now for the Abrassar anyway. And every day he skate with Nicola everything. He watched all the videos of his game shift last season, so he really worked on himself to give him every chance he can get to bounce back. So it's not easy for a player like at that age. Marco in our top, he's 29 now, almost 30 years old, and realized to do that at that age. And I think at some point, if you want to stay longer in the NHL, you have to adapt you adjust what is going on in the league and to keep a specific role. And I think that's the reason happening to him. So I just want to bring that on that one, Monsieur in our top. Here we go. I did not show the picture, Monsieur Hazard.
Okay. Yeah, we have Beyond the Stars, and it's obviously we're not breaking news here by saying that we're entering a whole new uncharted territory for where the rebuild has come to. It's gotten to the point now where every game that they're playing is the biggest game of the season for them, right? We saw it last night with Ottawa, and now on Thursday, the biggest game will be with the Islanders, and I suspect it'll be like that the rest of the way because they're important games. And when you put all of this together, guys, it's very simple, right? Like they're getting that experience that they need in order to see how they cope with it, and it's also great for their evaluation overall, especially the management, because they get to see who can handle circumstances like this, who can overcome obstacles as they come along in tight games, and who sort of shies away from that type of pressure. So it's fantastic that they're experiencing this. Hopefully they're able to make it to the playoff portion of the NHL. But if they don't, not to be considered a failure in any way, shape, or form. I think that they're getting the meaningful games that they wanted, and they're in that proverbial mix that I think they tried to establish at the beginning, and they're definitely there. Now, we know that the hottest line, obviously, especially since the Four Nations break, has been the first line. They've just been on fire, really. They're also in the top 10 in the league in terms of their accomplishment, their scoring, and that's great. But as we all know, you can't live on just one line producing the majority of your points. And that's why the headline today, sometimes you got to go beyond the stars being that necessarily that first line. And we saw that yesterday. They went through a couple periods. Great checking from both teams. I thought, both teams kind of brought it. Even though there were defensive gaps on both ends, I thought that the forechecking was tight. It was good. It was effective. I thought Allmark made some great saves in the first couple periods that really sustained that momentum for Ottawa. But in the third period, they knew, okay, the first line is not really clicking. They're creating some opportunities, but they're not there. So they had to rely on other guys, and those guys stepped up. And we're talking, as Marco alluded to earlier, definitely Anderson was a big component to that. You're looking at guys like Dvorak yesterday that with his 4 points, I thought that he really brought his A game. Probably the best game of the year he's played this year, and arguably the whole time he's been in Montreal. We saw the fire, the fight in a guy like Brendan Gallagher. Um, and it wasn't there other times, but these guys just escalated their game a little bit more and knew that they had to help out that first line, and they did their part in terms of the scoring. And in the end, it was that hard work that they strung together, that enabled one of the stars to get that key goal, which was Suzuki, of course. So I just want to give kudos to them. It's something that, again, is part of that learning culture, and hopefully they'll be able to maintain it, because you can't just live on your first line, right?
I'm so glad you brought this up, man. Like, and we've been on this here, for a long time, right? Like, for a couple of summers now, like we've already established that Montreal doesn't have like a generational player, right? Where they can
Yeah.
and like, and that you can build your whole roster around. If Montreal is going to be successful, it's going to have to be a full team effort, kind of like the Hurricanes, or a team like that. Like we always saw the blueprint for Montreal was going to be 4 lines rolling, with good depth and just playing as a team and everything else. And I don't know if, like, for those of you who've been following us and me on the show for a while, it's something I really believe in. Like, I think I prefer that model over, say, how Toronto's built their team, over how Edmonton has built their team. And I think maybe the trend is going in that direction. Just look at tonight, right? So the Avalanche are playing the Maple Leafs, right? Look at what the Avalanche did. Some people question why they traded Rantanen. In my opinion, they McFarland realized that they needed to kind of have more depth in their lineup. Like, you guys, you remember we looked at Colorado this summer and we're like, holy geez, like, of course they have amazing players, but look at that depth. It's ugly, ugly, ugly. And now look at them now, right? So you don't sign Rantanen.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have all this cap space. You can bring in, Coyle, and you can bring in Nelson. And like, I think it's a much better model, guys, to, not everybody's like the Boston Bruins where their players are going to agree to an internal cap and everything, right? So sometimes you have to make tough decisions. So listen, what we're seeing, of course, Montreal is going to be integrating great new young talent over the next couple of years. But what we're seeing right now is, a team, right? Like, Martin Saint Louis does a great job of getting everybody a role, and everybody's doing their job. Everybody feels like they're part of it. Sometimes with the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's almost like you have two teams. I've actually heard some of the Toronto media call it that before: Team A and Team B. Team A being the core four, and then the rest of the team. That's not how you want to operate a team. Like, you want everybody being as part of it, right? So I think it's so great. And I hope that Montreal stays with this model, because I
And
think
just let
it's
Marco, just look at that picture, Coach. I don't know if you can focus in on that picture. I know it was also the one you used on your show for
thumbnail.
tonight, but I mean, look at them. That's what experience means. That's what unity and family means. Like, if you focus in even on Martin St. Louis, he's looking at them and saying, this is exactly what I wanted to establish.
It's great. Love it.
Interesting about that. I'm still looking for Miss Arta for the Chinese usher behind the bench, but I cannot see her.
How many years later?
I cannot see her about that. Anyhow, let's go with mine. It's similar, but I think it's he represent maybe the last one of this group, and I'm talking about Brendan Gallagher, lead by
Yes,
example.
sir. Good
Um,
choice.
Look, this is the one or where he play not for the name in the back of the jersey, but from the logo in front of the jersey, and he proved it yesterday. With all the respect for Anderson and Dvorak, have a great game yesterday, but the veteran Gallagher continues to bring that kind of energy, but that consistency every year. There's another player adapt. There's a player struggle like Anderson a couple years ago. His name is stuck with the salary cap beside his name, but he never gave up. He never been negative. He's always been an element important, and I believe me at the foundation of the culture Martin we bring on the table. But I think Gallagher is a little bit like the David Savard. He had to go through Savard. I think Gallagher play another big role for the forward, and he's the last one was in the playoff in 2018 and won the Montreal Canadiens make it in front of the Bell Center. He know what the feeling to be at the playoff at the Bell Center, and this is the kind of players you need when you rebuild a team, and he accept the role. He accept to sacrifice. So yes, you have 6.5, but still, he never complaining
Nobody's
about
talking about
that,
that.
and he got hurt many years, guys. And after many years of what 4 5 seasons, 30 goals, maybe three of them at least I can remember. After that, injury after injuries, year after year, mom and cancer. The personal life it could put him on the other side, but he never gave
Yeah.
up. His dad take care about him every year about his conditioning training, and I think his biggest. And I can Marco, you'll be agree with me, but and after the thing helping him a lot is 2 years ago when the Montreal got eliminated. He had a full recovery during the summer. It was his first time he could take care about his own body and to completely recover from A to Z and to be ready and send that. It's not this year, it was the year before that. So send that to
Yeah.
Gallagher bring a
Yeah.
lot, and he accept his third row line. There's 12 to 12, 13 minutes, and this is a guy gave every inches of his body for the Montreal Canadiens. So, and after you talk about the culture, right? You talk about the team effort. You talk about the team together, the friendship, the relationship. And I think Gallagher is one a part of this. And like you said, Marco, about Anderson, the bounce back, everything like that. I think for me, it's the same line with uh, Gallagher. So, Marco, if you want to add something there.
Oh man, I'm glad you had that as your headline because I didn't want us to miss on him, right? Like because to me that was probably the most emotional thing of the game is when he scored. Well, first of all, it was emotional to see Tim Stützle crash into the net, trying to hook Gallagher. So I thought that was emotional all in its own. But no, like just the gesture that he did after he scored that, like he pounded his chest, and you could see he was really emotional. Like, you know, obviously we try not to bring too much of the players' personal lives into what's going on, but I think we all know kind of what's been going on with Brendan Gallagher's life. New dad. We know that his mom has brain cancer and is going through a lot as well. And like you said, Coach, like just the long road that he's been with his teammates here, trying to get them to be more competitive and all that. Like, I just feel so good for the guy. And I think you're right. Like that summer, where he got to really heal, like he was on the Shea Weber path, like just really abusing, just completely abusing his body. And, and so having that summer just to kind of, to really heal up and everything, I think was really good for him for sure. And I think we've seen a different player. And another thing you said, Coach, which is not obvious for all players that are entering this kind of period of their career, is accepting his role, right? So I
Yeah.
think again, Martin Saint Louis doing a great job of, he gives him, even though he's not super productive on that second power play unit, he's got that role. He's never got kicked off the second unit power play this year, so it gives him a good role. He doesn't kill penalties, but he has a very specific role. He's accepted that role. And, so I'm really glad you brought it up, because to me, that was one of the more emotional things from last night for sure.
Now, if you want to ask
And
one thing before we move on.
I was just gonna say, do you ever notice that he never ever takes a night off? Like there's certain players that you could tell for whatever reason, right? I'm not insinuating that maybe they take the night off because of laziness or whatever, but they're just not visible. But with Gallagher, I mean, he brings the same intensity every single game, and it's just amazing that not only has he accepted his role, but he's also taking players under his wing and sort of dragging them into the fight. And he's doing that by leading by example. He doesn't have the same speed. He's not going to get the same stats that he did when he was younger or in his prime, but he does what he does very well, and that's to be an instigator, get himself in front of the net, get those rebounds, deflections, whatever the case might be, and he produces.
Good point about that. I just want to mention this, Marco, the time he was talking, but we see Logan Mailloux on the ice, so skating very well. Yeah. So we know he got hurt at the end of the period with a black shot, but it looked like everything is fine. So sometimes we get that kind of the shot like that, black shot, whatever it is, it's hurt, right? And you feel it. So I just want to listen about this. Johnny Golden, Mr. Artap, is in the house, Mr. Artap. Long time.
Here's Johnny.
Here we go.
Here's Johnny. Come on down.
Here we go. Johnny Golden back in the house. Farrell, 1 assist at third period. Thanks so much, Johnny, to bring that
Welcome,
update, everybody. So thanks, everybody, about the show. We have a few people knock the door at the last minute. The time we did the headlines, we talk about Nicolas de Gobi-Bono. Welcome back. Pete Martin back. Pete was not there last night. We have also N26. We have Gary Conway, the best driver around the world, is in the house. Welcome back, Gary. And Reggie back in the house from Montreal or this area. So welcome, everybody. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. 60 minutes to go. Laval winning for the score 2-0. And Bradford and Owen Brass is get destroyed 6-1 right now at the beginning of the third period. They are under their players. It's fun to watch the prospect right now in the Montreal because they are now starting the playoff left and right. And it's fun to see that for that. And NHL, guys, I did not look until now. 2-1 the Toronto Maple Leafs. Steven Lawrence scored a 6 goal on the short-ended goal, by the way, at the beginning of the third period. For you is in the house. Welcome back, for you. Thanks for being a part of the show. So let's move on with fun news around the Montreal Canadiens today. Montreal announced this morning early they gave a contract, a 2 years deal with Lucas Condotta, the captain of the Laval Rocket. He got a couple of call up in the last 2 seasons for the captain. And look, he bring another. You talk about work ethic. You bring about talk about the way you need veterans of the Laval Rocket to helping the transition for the young players. But he is one a big part of that under Pascal Vincent, and to get him for next 2 years, that's a great. After a rookie, a 16 goal for the Laval Rocket 2 years ago. This year doesn't have a lot of goals, but he played a better role on the ice. He knows to play on the 200 feet play players now, and this is a good deal for Condotta. So I don't know if you want to add one more thing, Marco, about the deal of Condotta.
No, I think I think in our group chat we all agreed, right? Like, it's just well deserved for him, and I think you nailed it, right? Like, just a good character guy. They're going to continue to put in some good young players. So really important to have solid surroundings for those guys to come in. And I admit, like, a little surprised that they made him captain at the beginning of the year, but it makes total sense. Like, I think it's totally lived up to that. Even when he's been in Montreal, like, let's not forget he came up, for almost like 10 games last year, and he was pretty solid as a fourth line center. Like, it's not something you want to do long term, but so good for him. Like, I think it's really good depth signing. and a really, really good signing for Laval. So good for him. Well deserved.
Great point about that. It's the same way like Dauphin and those kind of veterans you need at some point, and that's good to hear that. Well, other
Yeah,
news.
I was just going to add, Coach, the other thing that's nice to see is we're not seeing a revolving door with a lot of these players. So it goes back to what the management is trying to create, not just in Montreal, but in Laval as well.
Well said. David Rebacker is back on the ice, Mr. Nartap. So I don't know if you want to talk about David Rebacker. Glad to see him. Missed the last 3 games, I believe, for him.
Yeah.
And Matt Murray did Matt Murray make a save à la Dominique Hachek. It's crazy when you see that. When you see
Matt Murray's leading
still
the
in the
AHL.
American Hockey League. He's upset.
He's
because
leading the
nobody
AHL in
whistled.
save percentage. He's leading the AHL in save percentage. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So Rebacker back on the ice, Mr. Tap. So you want to add something there?
Well, it's great. I'm glad that they're taking every precaution with him. They realize that they have to reintroduce him at a modified pace. But I mean, just looking at the games that he has played, the handful of games, I mean, you can tell that this guy has the hockey IQ. He doesn't panic under critical situations. He's very poised. I think if things progress well, he stays healthy. Eventually, he's going to be that partner for Hudson, and he can bring a lot to the game because I think both he and Hudson think the game on a different level than most other defenders and players. So it's good that he's getting that experience under his belt right now, and who knows, like maybe come next year he could play his way onto the team.
You're right.
I'm just glad to
see. Just before that, Marco. I don't know, but I watched the Laval Rocket guy in and out early before the show start. To make the show prepare, and he got hit from behind. During the second period, I believe. I was like, and then he was fine. But again, we wish the best for him. So I'm sorry, Marco, about that.
No, I was it's right along the same lines of what you were saying, Coach. Like, I just want to see him play some games, right? Like, I understand that they're load managing him, right? But it would just be nice to see him play some games. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was a little bit ahead of schedule coming back, right? So I don't want him to rush him, right? But it would just be nice to see him finish the season in Laval, have a nice long run. Because I'm with you, Entertap. Like, if I had to guess, Ken Hughes and the management team, they probably have him penciled in Montreal for next year, if I had to guess, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what they would like to see, for sure. And I think we all see, like you said, like a future pairing of him and Hudson makes complete sense. So, you have to let it happen naturally, obviously, but let's just hope he can stay healthy, get some games in, because I think we all can see what he has the potential to do. So looking forward to
it. Very good. Good, a lot of great conversation, the chat left and right. I appreciate a lot, everyone. For you, back in the house tonight, welcome back for you. Thanks to be a part of the show. Going to move on with everything going on here, guys. This is maybe the biggest news about happening today and on my world of the tail end, because I'm 12 hours, 11 hours behind in front, whatever you want to call it. And they play 66 game or 65 game, the SKA. I believe I missed 2 periods all year long, guys. And I don't want to prove anything to you, but the game for me starts at 11:30 p.m. Most of the game the night. So I go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. I did a resume. I bring all the update about Demidov. My point behind that is this part for Demidov is I see everything since the beginning. I can tell you the decision of Rottenberg every period. I can tell you exactly what he's going to do. What he's just not a good coach. So at the end of the day, guys, to hear today, even Demidov is going to be a healthy scratch for the remaining of the last 2 games for the SKA. Look, after that, we got a news update. Look like he's going to be missing all the playoff. The SK does not want to put him on the lineup. And possible, at the end of the day, I heard he's going to be playing possible in the junior down and the MHL or VHL. So I want to hear from both of you what you thought about this, and to add everything from that during the weekend or yesterday, the day before, maybe I could be wrong, Marco. Philman, talk about even Demidov possible to join Montreal Canadiens, or the news. It was out one way by Elliott. He was interpret. Is it like the
Yeah,
good word?
interpret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on many other ways about that. So I would like, Marco, you can talk about Dimitrov, also add that comments that we share, you and me, on the chat together.
Yeah. So listen, like, you've seen a lot more of the games. I've seen maybe like 15 games. Like I work during the day, so sometimes I sneak it in the background. But yeah, it is pretty shocking. Like, now again, like from the reporting we've heard, it's not like they've ruled him out 100%, right? But I think Rottenberg, he made it sound as though he's probably not going to play in the playoffs. So nothing's confirmed. It's not impossible that he does play, but it doesn't look like that way. And from what we're hearing from Rottenberg, it's him saying that he just doesn't feel that Demidov is ready to play with physical players at this level. But I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me, Coach, because he's been playing that. Like, are there new players that are playing in the playoffs, or are these same players that he's been playing against all year? Is it just that he's not ready for that style of game? Listen, like, I think we all probably disagree with Rottenberg there. So, but you're right. Like, one thing we need to kind of make clear, guys. So when you combine this news, the fact that he's not going to play these games and he might not play in the playoffs, then there is this mention for Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, mentioned that Montreal management team is very, very excited at signing Demidov once his contract is over on May 31st. Okay, so, and just for those of you who don't know, Montreal can't bring him over until May 31st. So Elliot Friedman said, hey, just confirming, Montreal is very, very excited to sign Demidov as soon as they can, which would be after May 31st. Now, some people, like that have, podcasts or have blogs or whatever, they kind of misinterpreted that, or they kind of changed the wording to make it sound like Montreal is working to try to get Demidov now. That's not the case. So Elliot Friedman, all he's saying is that Montreal is excited to sign Demidov as soon as they can. That doesn't mean that they're going to be able to get him this year. So I just want to make that clear, because you combine this noise about him not playing in the playoffs for SKA, and then all this other rumor about kind of what Elliot Friedman was saying, it's creating a whole new story that isn't true, right? So now, do I wish it was true? Absolutely. Like, it would be awesome if Montreal could bring in Demidov to finish the year. But guys, I just want to make sure, I don't want you to get your hopes up and be disappointed. It's not going to happen. Not this year. Montreal is very excited to sign him once his contract is over on May 31st. That's the truth. You can read all the blogs you want, but that's really what's happening in reality.
And of that?
Yeah, Rottenberg, I mean, he's notorious for playing mind games. That's no surprise. We've seen that on many different levels. And a lot of times, what he says and then he actually ends up doing are totally opposite things. So, I mean, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into this. I think that they're really trying to make things as uncomfortable and difficult for Demidov as they can. And I mean, let's put it this way. Let's look at it as the glass half full, because I think so far, with everything that's undergone, I think Demidov has shown poise. He's shown patience. He's shown that he can perform when he's given the time, and he's even at times forced them to give them to allow him to have more time on the ice. And he's handling all the media. He's handling these unjustified actions at times. And now they're saying, well, they'll send him down to the junior level. It's all pressure to make him sign again and stay there for an extra year or so. But he's determined. He's determined to come to Montreal. He said so on numerous occasions. And if he can handle all of this mental playing games that they're doing with him, I think he'll handle himself well in a media here, like in Montreal. So let's look at it from that perspective. The glass is half full.
Yeah, A lot of people are there. A2 just talking about Logan Mayu. I was just talking. I was mentioned Laval Rocket play a solid defensive game right now.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's a
But coach,
really a great structure, organized. If you look, the Toronto does not have a lot of space to skate. And Marco, we said to you, I was answering the people in the chat so about that. Look, guys, like I said, I follow Demidov all year long. Yes, he's struggling the second half of that, but I don't want to keep put all on his shoulder about this. And I would say to you guys, he's at the end of the day, remember, he's only 19 years old, right? He's not like at 27 years old. He's at 19 years old. He wants to play every game. He wants to play with every shift. He had the DNA inside of him. Uh, but all year long, on many ways, Rottenberg affect the mindset of Demidov. At some point, you can Marco in live and everything, guys. You can accept things, right? It's okay. I can suck it up. I will move on. I will try my best tomorrow morning, everything. But it's not only one decision. It's not about two decisions. I'm talking about a multiple decision.
It's
Like
constant.
like it's a rock and roll. It's a roller coaster. Like he would play 2 minute 1:45 a second period, and then he would play 8 minutes the next period. And then he would play on the first line, second line, third line, fourth line, third thing forward. It would be sit on the bench a full year, a full game after that. It will be with one line and then changing the center every game in the last 6 7 game. It's like at some point you become a little bit more. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't if I go
you're
forward, if I
hesitant.
go that way, or
Yeah,
maybe not the right way. So I want to,
He has to be
because I
himself.
said the last yesterday, that a couple of days, like guys, be a little bit more caution. Advise everybody. Team is not going to change the Montreal Canadiens all the way right away at the same time. And yes, maybe they would put him on the top six, but I would not be surprised he start at the bottom six with the Montreal at the beginning of the season, next season, depend on the
That's fine.
roster. But my point behind that is just want to I don't want to blame Demidov for what happening during the second half of the last month. Really, it's mentally, I believe, it's really difficult, Marco, for Demidov.
Sure. But that's the point, Coach. I was trying to make. It's like I think, given the circumstances, he's really overcoming that. Like when, like this guy's hitting the gym twice a day, and he Rottenberg tells him, you know what, maybe you shouldn't be doing that so often because you're setting a bad example for the veteran players on this team. Like, can you believe an attitude like that? Like it's just ridiculous. And for him, I think he's got the mental strength to overcome all of this. He's shown it on multiple cases. Now you could say, okay, well, he hasn't scored in how many consecutive games. I I think his mind is on down the road, right? On being here in Montreal, and when he comes here, he's going to see night and day in terms of the way the players are treated, and the full transparency that the team has, and he's going to really thrive under these kind of conditions.
yeah. Like I just don't understand. Like, Entertop is probably the same in your field. Like if you're dealing with students, if you're dealing with people in a work setting, the key thing that you want is consistency, right? And you want people to like the only thing that you can ask for as an employee of something or somebody that's working on a team or whatever is know what the expectations are so that I can consistently know what you want me to do, right? So it doesn't
Right.
sound like that's really what's going to happen. Like, whether anybody that works a job will understand that you'll feel really shitty about that's my one of the night. If you go into work, and you don't know what's expected of you, well, it's you don't feel like going into work. Like you feel uncomfortable, you feel insecure with what you're doing. You don't feel confident about what you're doing, right? But when you have somebody like Sandy Wee who tells you clear expectations of what to expect, works with you, builds your confidence, then you come into work with confidence, and you come into work excited to give your best, right? So it's just really hard for somebody to it's like just a pendulum, right? It's like a roller coaster, like you were
Yeah.
saying. So feel bad for the kid. Again, is he ready to play with men in the playoffs? Like, I don't know. Like, it would have been interesting to see, right? But I think it's hard to judge, right? Just because of how inconsistent Roddenberry has been.
Coach, do you have a prediction on how many points Hudson would get this year on your big board? Anyone close? I knew he was that. So, guys, I did something I will now bring to you guys, and nobody know. And I did not mention this guy to anyone until tonight. So, when I do a video like this, a live streaming, Marco, my software record the software. So to not keep everything on my software on my computer, I delete, right? The next day I delete everything like that. But I keep the one night with all of you did a prediction about the season Montreal Canadiens for everything. So I did not. I'll be honest with you guys. I did not delete it. And I did not watch it yet. So I'm going to do this at the end of the season. We have a 3 days off, I believe, between the end of the season and the beginning. If Montreal make the playoff too, I think it would be great to bring to you guys some clips in the show.
Yeah.
He
That's
said,
awesome.
Like Marco, he said that Hudson's going to get, or Mike Madison is going to get 60 points, whatever it is. What we said, Montreal is not going to make the playoff, whatever it is. So I did everything, A2. I keep everything. So if this one is on my bubble, but is on the great safety closet of the computer right now. So I just want to bring
you want to embarrass. In other words, you want to embarrass us, right?
Well, I was looking for something about Luciano in our tap. Luciano said Ottawa is not going to. It was the worst decision coaching staff coaching her all summer. So I keep that one in our tap for Luciano. So
good.
What about RDP
with that one?
Some RDP Buffalo Sabre stuff in there too, maybe.
Here we go. So I think it would be good to do the transition between the playoff, everything. I think it would be fun about that. So, like we do, guys, we do the recap game. Of course, yesterday was another huge game. It looked like every game is a huge game, honestly, for Montreal Canadiens. And the count of the game is coming down now, from 20 to 16 to 15 now. And Montreal is still not in the mix. They are in the playoff. Surprise everyone. So I want to do a recap game about between both teams. So how this game about that. Guy, George, welcome back in the house. And a lot of people are excited to see what happened in those predictions at that one over there. So that's what we got.
Coach, can I tell a little story before we do the recap of the game? So last night I wasn't able to go into the chat during the game because I had my brother over and we were watching the game, right? But I wanted to kind of after the game, and I jumped on after the game and chatted with everyone. But then after everybody logged off, I went back and because just curious to sometimes I go back and I look at your goal calls, right, just to kind of see how you reacted, just to kind of see what the chat was saying and all that. So I thought it was really Coach was kind enough to kind of let me share with you something interesting that we found as we were going through that. So, there's it's kind of a roller coaster of a game, right? So if those of you know the meme of like how it started and how it's going, do you guys know what I mean by that meme where there's like two pictures of how it started and
before
how it's going? Yeah, before and after. So, Coach, why don't you show us how it started?
But before that, guys, I have to add one thing. Yeah. Okay. Last night it was. I said this at the beginning of the show, guys. Yesterday, it was one of the most exciting game I was to do as a play-by-play. Like it was remind me the Quebec Nordic and the Montreal Canadiens, and I was all in yesterday, guys. I was in action, but I did not realize how this could be on the TV until I saw that picture from Marco yesterday. So we have to give credit for Marco that one, but. No cheese and Canadiens going to see that allowed. I know not to prove that one, guys. Here we go. What Marco just yes enough that.
There we go.
That's not good. You don't bring this on your wallet or your phone for picture for shoot to someone.
You know when you
Coach, that's so fun though. Like
it is
then trust me, like I could have at least done like 80 pictures. That would have been amazing. But like so much. I just want to say, Coach, like you do such a. It always blows me away, by the way, how good of a play-by-play guy that you are. Like, like sometimes I'll just turn off the sound on the TV and try to just do the play-by-play, and I can't do more than like 15 seconds. Like I just,
yeah.
and I'm good with words. Like I think I can talk a lot, but it's just really impressive how you can do the play-by-play. And the emotion that you brought last night. Like I said, sometimes even if I don't catch the show, I'll go back. I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I scroll through and I look for the goals, and I'll watch you do the goals and stuff. So just a lot of fun, Coach. It's just a great opportunity.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I think for me, one thing I would say, to do it with my second language, where the English is not very good. It's really more easy. It's not easy, but I would say one thing for all of you guys. What I'm really shocked is like I can do any game and I have no preparation of the game for the opponent team. Or the fact I have the stat like the last 10 game and everything like that. They can score, I can tell you this is a 16 goal the game right away. But remember all the name with the jersey number, and I can tell you I'm about 90%,
Yeah,
95%.
it's incredible. Like,
and
Coach,
I would go to the Laval Rocket game, guys. Laval Rocket, I would take 30 minutes before the game start, and then I will walk with the roster quickly, and I will go about that. So this is really where I really feel good about what I accomplished on the play-by-play. But thanks. Hopefully, yes, it's not easy to see myself right now, but I will say to you, I would bring this more picture like that if Montreal continues to have a good run until the end of the season. So, and after, don't worry about that. I will give more my personality inside of that Montreal Canadiens. Happening yesterday, but the Montreal Canadiens beat the Ottawa Senators 6-3. Third line, 9 points plus 8. Suzuki power play goal, game-winning goal. Hudson, 5th goal of the year. Lenny, New Hook, new chemistry. And Strobel, Hudson, and Montembeau yesterday. Another great performance. So you get everything right there on as the recipes of the game for the Montreal Canadiens against Ottawa Senators. So let's start with Marco about that one, and then and after I'm going to do the next subject that stood out of the game. So Marco, how do you see the game? What pay you a little bit more attention during that game?
Yeah, I think Entertab mentioned it off the top of the game, and maybe you too, that it's just a really tight checking game, right? Like there's just like not a lot of room out there. So I think, all of us that were kind of really noticing how well the Suzuki line was playing, I don't think they played badly. It just, it was just really tight game, and definitely Travis Green was going power on power. So they were playing against Stützle a lot of the night. And for the most part, we didn't see too much about Tkachuk last night. Like I think overall those two lines neutralized themselves pretty well. And like we talked about, I think what really came through in the end was the depth, for Montreal, right? Like, so the depth was able to come through. Probably a couple things, like we, maybe the Savard and Jacky pairing struggled a little bit on that goal where Batherson was able to come in, and they should have challenged and kind of like not let him take the line. But overall, Coach, I think it was a continuation of kind of what we saw in the last couple games. Like I think Montreal still playing on the right side of the puck, still playing the right way. You would like to see them, kind of take advantage of more power play opportunities. They had a couple of power plays that they weren't able to create a lot on, but they were kind of weird power plays too, right? Like there was one that it wasn't a full 2 minutes, and just bad timing on some of them. But overall, another really solid game overall. Like we talked about the third line last night, just having a monster night. And overall, again, Matheson, he was my obscure guy last time I was on here, or just recently. So, I think overall, Coach, just a really good continuity from what we've seen. Just a really exciting games. The resilience too, like coming back, trailing 3 times. So just Monty had that one tough goal, but then was able to rebound. So just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun to watch. Very exciting. And I'll leave some stuff for Entertap because I probably covered a lot. But Entertap, what did I leave out?
Marco, Marco, I just want to ask because I know you look at the goaltenders at the beginning of the game in the first 5 to 10 minutes. Did you have a good feeling about it at the beginning? Because I thought
No.
he looked a little bit out of sorts,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. No. That's
yeah,
so. I'm glad you mentioned that. Not only did Monty look a little bit like everybody, if you listen to the TSN broadcast, they were talking about how Montreal had a really strong start and Ottawa had to weather the storm. And overall, Montreal did have a really good first start to the first period. But if you look at the first three shifts, you could tell Montreal was nervous. Like even Matheson was bobbling the puck a little bit behind. Like they were a little bit tentative for the first 2-3 shifts, but then they came on. But you're right. Yeah, I didn't see Monty seeing the puck super well. But the problem is like you know how I do that, Intertop, is the one thing I hope for right away if when I'm watching the games is I just hope that goalie gets to touch the puck pretty soon into the game. And Monty didn't get to touch the puck for the first like 6 minutes of the game and only had to make his first big save. And then if you remember, like it almost kind of went through him. Did Dauphin just score a hat trick? Hat trick,
Yeah.
Laurent.
I just put
There
in
you
the
go.
chat.
There you go. So yeah, so you're right. I didn't see him be super sharp at the beginning of the game.
you know what really stood out for me, guys, was the fact that even though our first line was quiet, for the most part, I mean they were still playing well. They were trying to create opportunities, but more importantly, like they decided to go head to head, right, with the top line in Ottawa, and they kept them quiet. You look at guys like Kachuk, for him to have 0 hits during the course of the game, and I think he had like just 3 or 4 shots on net. I mean, he wasn't as visible as he usually can be, and I thought that they were successful in doing that. So um, I thought it was tough the first 2 periods to see because that nervousness and that sort of uh, even the crowd, like it was really timid at the beginning, but they really got into it. And as the team went on, and then they got a couple of big goals at different times that I thought sort of they broke through, and it gives them the belief that they can continue to do this.
And one thing, Coach, before you go, is I was watching, I think it was Kipper and Bourne or something like that, like one of the Toronto shows or whatever. And, they almost never talk about Montreal, right? But one of the guys, I forget who it was, like they said that they caught the last, I think, like period or something like that. And they were comparing the crowd in Montreal compared to the crowd that they see in Toronto and just the difference, right? And it's true. Like I had a colleague of mine that was at the game in Florida and she told me like she almost had a heart attack. Like it was so loud, like her heart stopped. Like it literally stopped in her chest. Like how that's how loud it was. They're doing the wave for like 5 minutes at the Florida game, right? So
Yeah,
this is great for like, and then if you include like the Four Nations, like just all the great press that the playing in Montreal, everybody got to see how special that was. That's going to be important for Kent Hughes, I think, this summer, right? When if ever he does get into the free agent market, I think Montreal's not only do they have a good program, like they have great prospects and they're building a good program, but it's becoming more and more of a thing, right? That everybody knows how special it is to play in Montreal. So very, very cool.
Got a
it's a
great
selling
comments you
feature.
bring about that game yesterday. Yes, nervous was the right term or the right words used. During the day, they was a little bit worried about what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens during the game, and you can see by the behavior at the first 20 minutes, 40 minutes, and I think the momentum change. Right, you're always looking for a moment where it can change everything. I believe the goal of Lane Hudson, in my opinion, is really the one
Oh yeah,
where everybody look in the bench say, you know what, we can do it now. We can do it. I know they adjust. They talk about this between second period, third period, right? But I think the goal of Lane Hudson, guys, he does not have a great power shot. I can understand that. But how many defensemen can score a goal like he did yesterday? And he's only 5'9". And if you see how he pulls the puck all the way out of his body, like full range, completely to be sure the player cannot touch the puck, and then quick release inside of the post. Like he cannot have a better accuracy shot like Lennartson did
yeah.
yesterday. And I think
Yeah.
that changed completely the momentum of the game, the 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 the, the way, like Montreal Canadiens, we said, we believe now we can come back again, we can win this game, and then after that you get that goal of Nick Ski at the style of Brendan Gallagher. Gallagher guy did not stop to walk on the puck in front net on the right pad of the goaltender, and then the puck bounced out, and then Suzuki have an empty net right there, and then the rest is the history with Josh Anderson, everything. So look, this was a great W for many ways. I really like Samuel Montembeault yesterday
And
when he said that was maybe my worst goal I gave against under my with the Montreal Canadiens. I played with the Montreal Canadiens, so Montembeault.
I
I
know
just
about
watching
that.
guys. Primo, I got a shootout. Primo, I believe now is
Yeah.
6-0.
Crazy.
That's
Primo's killing
crazy
it
when you
right
think about that. You talk about Sean Farrell, but we have to give credit for Primo on that one. So, and now that is your turn now to give us you stood out, obscure, and other office. You can sharing the same player, guys. You no problem with that. There are many candidates for sure
oh yeah.
for the Montreal Canadiens. So, and after that, you are on the top of this right now.
Okay. Well, what stood out, as you said, Coach, there's many to choose from. Personally, I'll go with Josh Anderson yesterday. I thought that as Marco was saying earlier, he really sort of took the game to the next level and knew that he had to be an instrumental part of this. And it translated to 2 goals that he scored. He was a +3 the whole evening. He had, I mean, he had 5 hits in that first period, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he had 6 overall for the team in the game. So he was engaged. He was forechecking. He was back checking. He got into a couple of pushing bouts with a couple players. He had over 15 minutes of time on the ice, which is very good for him. So I'll give it to him for yesterday's nice performance. Obscure, I'm going to go with Christian Dvorak. I think I mentioned it last time we were on the air, did the obscure, and I think I put him in that category as well that game. But I think he's continued it. He's been playing very well over the since the Four Nations, in my eyes. He contributed yesterday with a big goal and followed up with 3 assists after that. Yeah,
How can you be obscure with
he
4 points, though? How can you be obscure when you get 4 points?
well, obscure from the point of view that he hasn't done it all year, and so
Yeah.
I wouldn't put him as a stood out just for that reason, right? Otherwise, he would probably be in that category. Uh, he did his job on the face-off circle. I think he was 50 or 51% from there. He logged, I think, over 15 minutes of ice time. And you
And a
could
great
you could
goal.
see
It is a breakaway.
and a great goal. Yeah,
Is the move he did. I'm telling you right now, this is rare.
yeah,
We see,
That's
and
that's
credit
Dvorak.
and
That's Dvorak from the London
yeah,
Knights that we not break away there for sure.
absolutely. He had the poise to realize that Allmark didn't have a stick, and kudos to Laney, who really labeled Allmark with a nice shot that made him lose that stick, and he never retrieved it. There was a great pass made up to him. I believe it was Brendan Gallagher that made the pass that sprung him free, and he had the poise to say, he doesn't have a stick, so I better go to his right side and try to score there, and he did. So if he continues like this, it only bodes well for that entire line, which have found some great chemistry together now. And to the office, it's hard after a game like yesterday. The I mean, I hate to put anybody there because I didn't think anybody really merited it, but if there's one guy I didn't quite notice too much, was Joshua Roy. He was a -1 on the evening. I don't know if he had about 10 to 12 minutes of ice time. It's not that he was bad, he didn't do anything negative, but I just found he didn't do anything that sort of contributed to the positivity of the play. So I'll put him there just as a reminder to maybe look at the review or just pinpoint areas that he can improve in.
I think we're gonna have some different ones. We're gonna have some variety in this one.
Sure.
I think for stood out, like it's pretty hard for me to distinguish between the guys on the third line. So, Coach, can I cheat and just say like the entire third line? I think to me stood out. Like I think all of them, like equally just as impactful. They just had a great game. The whole the third line, I think, was the best line for Montreal, and they all had moments. They all did special things. So to me, the whole third line stood out. For me, for obscure means that he was really important last night, but not many people are talking about him. So I'm going to say Mike Matheson again. Mike Matheson. Nobody really talking about him. Everybody's talking about Lane Hutson's goal. Everybody's talking about the third line, talking about Montebo or whatever. But Matheson, again, he had something like 9 minutes in the first period. He did a full PK, like he was there for 2 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that after a PK. You can't speak enough of how much better it makes Matheson to have Hudson on that first power play unit so that he doesn't have to worry about the power play nearly as much. Last year, we talked about how we needed to manage his minutes. So to me, Matheson, again, just been I think we've all been a little critical sometimes, with his risk management, but I think he's done a much, much better job, in the last many games here. So for me, obscure is definitely Mike Matheson, just being an anchor back there, and really kind of delivering. For me at the office, I'm going to say Jack-Eye for a couple of different reasons. So I already mentioned the play where him and Savard kind of were the Moses with the Red Sea. They just kind of parted and let Matheson come in and gave him the line. He had the puck over glass penalty. And guys, a near disaster. He goes across and he does that late hit on Highmore. And to be honest, that could have easily been a 5-minute penalty. Very close. Maybe he got a little bit of the shoulder, but he got a lot of head on that. And the hit was very, very late. So if I'm Martin Saint-Louis, again, I have no criticism of how I think Jack-Eye's been playing really well. For the most part, he's been really good at balancing his role. I think we all understand he's come a long way. But there's something, he said it himself. It's the team he hates the most in the NHL, the Senators, right? So, if Jack-Eye is going to be an important part of our future and he's going to be playing in big games where the emotion is high, I hope St. Louis has a conversation with him. You need to manage your emotions better. We need you to be impactful. We do want you. We're not trying to muzzle you, right? Some people will say, "Oh, you can't control a guy like that. You're just declawing a panther," or whatever you want to say. We're not saying you can't be physical. You just have to be smart. And going after and headhunting a guy, late like that, and potentially putting your team shorthanded after you've already had a puck over glass penalty. Jack-Eye needs to learn how to manage his emotions consistently. For the most part, he's done that this year. So I'm not saying you can't do it, but last night his emotions got the better of him, and it could have very, very seriously cost the team. So I would definitely have a chat with him about that.
On the flip side, everything you said, I agree with you. I would say just the fact Jack-Eye is on the roster, and on the bench, and on the ice, that changed the way the Ottawa play. When I said that,
Sure.
imagine no Jack-Eye on the ice yesterday. I believe Cacho will be a different game. I think some player would take advantage the fact Jack-Eye is not there. But I think yesterday Jack-Eye make a couple of mistakes where he need to be a little bit more, And I think it come with the learning process, the meaningful game, right? The biggest game on where they are right now, and he's a part of that where he feel it is, what I mean, and he have to be ready. But I don't want to give him too much blame about that. Or the effect for me, I would change my obscure for all of you. I would go with Jaden Strouble for me for obscure. I believe me, the best hockey of Lane Hudson right now play for the Montreal Canadiens. I think right now this is what the best you get from Lane Hudson. In my opinion, send the Four Nation. Hudson play better at what he does at the beginning of the season. He's so good now on the risk management. He take less chance. He's more controlling his defensive zone, and we have to give credit for Strobel because that gave him to play on the wrong side. Marco, it's not easy play on the wrong side, and the kid continues to perform at that level. It just blew my mind. So I want to give credit for Strobel about that on that one. Stood out. Yes, it's easy to get a first line about this, but because we want to give another players different ways, and I was critical about him the last couple of weeks, and he maybe play his best game, not about the point, but his engagement. It's about Patrick Lenny yesterday. For me, this is the
Yeah,
best Patrick Lenny 5 versus 5 you got this season yesterday. Um, what you
yeah.
see back checking a little bit, like he played physical with Raleigh
So,
Craig at some point, like the engagement I'm talking about. And it
yeah,
would be
yeah. No,
easy talking about Anderson and everybody else. And but I want to mention another stood out players around that team yesterday. So I don't know if you want to add something, Marco.
yeah. That's a really good point, Coach. Like, I think I've mentioned this in the chat, but I don't know if you guys remember, but it seemed like the first 5 games or so that Line played, he was actually really good 5-on-5. Like he was back checking, he was on the right side of the puck, and I was blown away. Like I remember us talking about it. We're like, wow, like not only did he score in all those games, but I was actually surprised. But then there was this middle part here in the last maybe 15 games that he played, leading into the First Nations, where it just wasn't at the same speed, right? But I think you're right. Like other than the first couple games where he played, where I felt he actually did play really well 5-on-5, like, and he was on the right side of the puck and he was physical a couple times. This is definitely the best 5-on-5 game Line played, and St. Louis was very clear, like that he's being very honest with him, and he's going to reward him with more ice time, and he wants to have him on the ice. He just like our friend Dominique Ducharme used to say, right? Like, quand je mets un 10 de trèfle, when I put a 10 of clubs on the table, I want to know it's a 10 of clubs, right? Meaning you coaches like it when they put the players on and they know what they're going to get. So that's not new in hockey. You need to be dependable, and the coach needs to trust you when he puts on. And Line A right last night was definitely trustworthy, which is allows St. Louis to put him on more often.
Was said.
And I,
And after
I
a
think you got to
question
give.
for you.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say you also have to give some credit to Newhook because I think they work well together from the last
Yeah.
couple of times that they've been on the same line. Like his speed and playing up the middle has really allowed Laney, who's very intelligent, to get himself in the proper positions, right? And he creates opportunities. So that's part of the reason why he looked very good as well last night. Your
And
question,
after
Coach.
you follow hockey since Aurel Joliette, so you know many players been in the NHL. So could you remember one specific player, Cat? Like, yeah, only thing you have to do is put the puck in the net. You have nothing in front of the net. Like it's like nobody there. Who could you remember a specific player like Les guy was like
Two,
terrible?
two I can remember. Two
Two
I
of
can
them.
remember. Jimmy Roberts and Don Ori.
Jimmy Roberts. So yesterday, guys,
And
we
Don
see
Ori.
if you don't remember or you don't know who Jimmy Robert is, and that's to say, is a bit Alex Newhook 2.0 last night on the great pass of Patrick Lenny. And I'll be honest with you guys, is I feel bad for Newhook. He have a really difficult year, right? And he's bounced back right now. He plays solid minute right now as a center number 2. Later on that, look, he scored a great goal for the great pass by Nick Suzuki Saturday night, I believe. And he got Zizadou the goal, right? It was a really great play by Suzuki. And he could be the game changer of that game, but he's not affect the win for Montreal. But yesterday, guys, the pass of Lenny was amazing. And you
Amazing.
have only
Yeah.
thing to do is to put the puck in the net. Like I was
Yeah.
here on the play by play, and I
Yeah.
see that. Like
I watched that. That was
But
one of the parts I watched last night. It was hilarious. That was
it
I
kind of
almost used that.
skipped over
Well,
the
I think what he
sticks.
did,
Like
what they talked about in the broadcast is sometimes, like in the NHL, you have to kind of know what you're going to do before you even do it, right? Like you're
yeah.
always thinking a step ahead. So I think he just kind of like he knew what he needed to do right away, but he just mistimed it, right? Like his brain was just like a half step ahead of what his hands were. So it happens time to time. To me, it's like a Russ Cardinal. To me, Russ Cardinal is the best kind of example. Le Chevrolet, right? Like
Did la force to talk about Régent Hull.
Jean Hood too, yeah.
So we're going to go. We have 35 minutes. We're going to go quickly on different things, on different subjects. We're not going to get there. Sometimes we ask only one of you, and then both of you, if necessary. It's not a clash yet, but it's a good question. Martin St. Louis should be on the nomination for the Jack Adams Trophy. If it's yes, the reason. If it's not, because. So we'll start with NR on that one.
I don't see how he's not a consideration, right? Like to get the team to this spot right now, and if they especially if they make the playoffs, I think he's a serious contender for that trophy. I see a lot of growth in his coaching. Like I thought yesterday, he actually the inner part of the game he really coached it well. I thought he made the adjustments when he had to, but it's not just based on yesterday. It's based on what we've seen over the course of the last almost 3 full years now that he's been here, and you've seen that growth. He's finally starting to see the fruits of what he's planted over the year or over the 3 years, and it's coming to fruition. Now think of where the defensive structure was at the beginning of the year and how we were making arguments against it, and now where they're at now, it's still not perfected, but it's extremely it's properly utilized, and I think it's effective in its way. So that's all credit to him, where he's been persistent with something. It would have been easy for him to sort of shy away from it when players weren't handling it properly and making a lot of blunders, but he knew with his vision that this is the way the NHL is moving towards. So he went that direction. So to make it a quick answer instead of a long one, yes, he is a candidate for me.
Too late. No, joking.
Yeah, I know.
That was good. It was very complete for sure. I'm going to have a little bit of a rant here too, guys. I don't know if you agree with me. Do you guys know what the expression groupthink is? Do you know what you've heard that expression before? Groupthink. Like to me, I find like hockey journalists and hockey media, there's too much groupthink, right? Like it seems like the entire hockey world has already decided that Carberry's going to win. He's already going to win the Jack Adams Trophy. The season's not even over, but it's like there's this discussion that happens, and the collective hockey media mind has already decided that's what it's going to be. I think that's dumb. Like season's not even over. Like to me, Martin St. Louis, absolutely, if he makes the playoffs, he should absolutely be considered. I just find it annoying that these narratives get built up, and then it's just people repeating what the other people said, and then you don't want to seem like you're going to be wrong, so you just repeat what everybody else says. Like, can we just analyze everything once the season is over? We can talk about who we think's in the lead, but I find it annoying that these things are decided way in advance. Same thing with the Calder Trophy. Like, I think a lot of people already in their minds have Celebrini winning, even though Hudson's being talked about. But anyways, one last thing I'll say, guys, if there was an award for most improved coach, I think St. Louis would be the winner. There's no question to me. This year over last year, especially from the beginning of the year, we all remember the training camp, how much of a dumpster fire the training camp was. And you had to kind of go back and try to tweak a couple things. I know Devin and I have disagreed about whether he did tweak things or not, but it sounds to me like he tweaked some things. He went in, had to change his way, how he was communicating to the team. Not all the team members were understanding what he was asking, but now they all get it. Now everybody's on the same page. So to me, he would be for sure 100% winner of the most improved coach if there was an award that was called that this year.
Good point about that.
Can't argue that.
A lot of people in the chat, you have a lot of great conversation between about Régent Hull, Stevenson, and Ross Cotnall. Mark
Wow,
at
what a
PLW have a good comments about this. Luke and me will talk about Anderson. So a lot of great conversation, fun conversation. See that about that. I would say one thing about Jack Adams Trophy, guys. First of all, if you don't know, every trophy are not vote on the same way, right? That trophy is
yep,
voted by the play-by-play people or the
yep,
reporter
yep.
of the
The
team
media.
Writers, like
of the
yeah, there's
team.
different.
So a little bit different, right? Secondly, Jack Adam usually is at the beginning of the season. Wow, the wild to go the first 4 minutes. Wow. Um, at the big, usually you took what you expect for the team at the beginning and what it looked like at the end of the year. That's really where the differential the trophy of Jack Adam usually. And but Martin we just called me, Mr. Natap, a couple of minutes ago. He said, no, 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 no. The winner, the Jack Adam, get fired the year after that. So he said, I refuse completely that trophy. I don't want my name allowed around that trophy. So I want to be my name on the silver trophy, not on the Jack Adams. So I just want to mention that, Mr.
Isn't
Natap.
it isn't it crazy though, guys, that I believe he's now eighth in terms of seniority in the NHL
I think
and
even higher than
longevity?
that now. I think he's even
Oh, is
higher
he
than that.
higher?
He might be
Oh,
like
I
fourth.
wouldn't be
He might
surprised.
be fourth, man.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the Wild scored a third goal and the first 4 minutes and 29 seconds.
What's
Liam
a strange
O'Green
team?
score. I
Very
believe
good play.
me, if I'm right, and I'm not often right, but this is his second goal in NHL, but his first goal was against Montreal Canadiens,
Ogren, yeah. Yeah.
right?
Ogren.
If
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he was. So I just want to mention that about this. So I don't know. Is it go bar between the pipe?
Well, there's your answer.
Uh,
31. Anyway, I just want to mention
yeah,
that.
it is Gruber. Yeah.
Unbelievable how terrible. Like, can we talk about that just for 1 sec? Grubauer, like, what happened to that guy? It's just insane how, like, I know it's a terrible signing by Ron Francis, but what an incredible descent into mediocrity that guy became. Like, just unreal.
Wow, 3-0 for everybody. Question for Mr. Natap. Do you keep Amia? Do you keep Dvorak? Do you keep both of them, or you don't keep both of them? I don't want this as a clash, but how's you feeling about this? What you are thinking about that situation? For the people in the chat, also you can add. We missing a couple of likes to get 60, so if you don't mind to do that, that'd be great. And it was just called up back for the Iowa Wild
Ogren.
Ogren. So I just want to mention that. Dakar
Yeah.
said 3 goals the first 4 minutes. You look the coach said, no, I'm okay. Sit. I can be sit for the night. No worry about me. I'm good right now. So what do you think about that, Mr. Natap?
Well, what I think and actually what will happen are two different things. I think I I don't believe that either one will be back next year. Um, I just think that there's a progression in terms of what they want to do, and hopefully who comes up and fills those spots or how they fill it internally. And their contracts, which if they're off your record, will create more of an opportunity for you to fill in some other areas of great need, right? So I don't think either one will be back. I definitely don't think both will be back. But I think they'll let him walk unless there's always a caveat, right? Unless they're willing to take a deep discount, and it's the term on it is not very long, like maybe anywhere between 1 to 3 years at max. Then I could see maybe an argument being made for, uh, you know, I don't even know which one, to be honest with you. Probably a better case for Dvorak than for Armia, but I see the benefits that each one could contribute to. So I don't know. It's a tough question. That's a good one, Coach. I personally don't think either one will be back, but
One the last time I do an easy question.
We'll see
Well,
when we get to the.
But
I
before that,
answered this question.
before
I answered
Marco,
this question this summer.
but before
I
Marco,
Yeah,
answered
you
this
think
question.
you think one of them will be back? I know.
before Marco, you talk. I have to give credit to you because you got a lot of the hot seat in the chat about Christian Dvorak. A lot of people was disagree. You've been not a fan of Christian Dvorak, but you've been one mentioned the reason why Christian Dvorak maybe could be with the Montreal Canadiens, and you got a lot of hot. How you call it? The hot.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely got some heat on that for sure.
I'd say here we go. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm sorry about that, but yeah.
No, like again, guys, like we know that Montreal doesn't have any left-hand centers in its pipeline. Even Beck, even Kapanen, Hage, like these, none of them are left-hand centers, right? So even if Montreal doesn't go out and get a number 2 center to play, hopefully in their top 6, you still need a fourth line center. So at the end of the day, Enertap, like I don't think they're going to sign for the same amount of money they make now, either one, right? Like,
No,
I would be surprised. No. So to me, like the argument, like, okay, you can't just look at the money they're making now and say, oh, they can't add that money again. Like, no, you could probably get both players for close to the amount that you're playing for one of them right now, to be honest. Like, I think you can probably sign both of these players for under 4 to 4.5 million for both. So to me,
but would you want to do that, Mark?
I do, because let's compare it. I said this in the chat the other night. Let's compare it exactly to the Kovacevic situation, right? Which I think we all come to understand was a bit of a mistake. It turned out okay because they were able to get Carrier, and that's worked out really well. But they were lucky. What if they weren't able to get a Carrier? But the mistake they made with Kovacevic is that they assumed that either Mayu, Reinbacher, or Barron was going to take one of those spots. Let's not make that mistake again. If Beck, Kapanen, or anybody else is going to come in and steal that spot, wonderful. Let them steal it. But don't just give it to them. Like, if you sign Dvorak for a 2 to 3 year deal at under 2.5, 3 million, guys, that's not going to be hard to move. If Beck turns out to win that spot, or if Kapanen ends up winning that spot, great. But let's not just assume that happens, and then all of a sudden because again, guys, like if you just bring in one of those guys to fill that key penalty killing roles, whether it's Armia or Dvorak, guess what? You're taking a step back from this year. You want to regress? Like, I don't think Kent Hughes is in the business of regressing next year. Like, especially if they make the playoffs, or even if they're close. Like next year at the golf tournament, "Tu vas entendre le mot en P," like they like to say in the French media. You're going to hear the P word at the golf tournament next year. So if you want to stay competitive, yes, I'm not saying you want to block your young players, but to me, you have to get them to earn it. And signing Armia and Dvorak, as I agree, as long as it's reasonable, like you're not going to sign them for 5 years at like $4 million, then obviously that's not going to work. But based on their production, I don't think that's what they're going to get in the free market. And I think they both love playing in Montreal. Dvorak is very, very tight. He's loved in that dressing room. Just look at how close he is with a lot of the guys. And Armia is going to want to stay in Montreal too. Like, he had a very tough time mentally. And I think he's the kind of guy that's going to want to stay in a situation that he knows he has a role, just like Jake Evans did. So listen, I don't know what's going to happen, but I would bet more on signing both.
I mean, what sort of mixes things up a little bit, Marco? And I think we said this before when Evans was into the equation as well. And we said one of two with him or Dvorak would be possibly coming back. And what do you have to lose, right? Like, obviously. And I think that having made that decision may have sort of opened the door, because it's no coincidence that both Beck and Kapanen played extended times here up in Montreal. So I think they're part of their plan, even though I agree with you, they have to earn it, but part of their plan is that succession for them, right? So if you sign either Dvorak or well, let's stick to Dvorak right now because he's the centerman and both Kapanen and Beck are as well. If you do that, then one of them is not here next year. So you create that log jam that might help you this year so that you're not regressing, maybe, but does it help you down the road, right? Like
You can always move them. It's not a blood oath that you have to keep these guys for the rest of their contract. Like with the salary cap going up, like, and don't forget, guys, like he's the left hand shot, right? And we don't have any, like, it's difficult to have that. So, I think, again, it's a devil, he fits in well in the team. He's proving what he can do here when the games are important. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. But if I had to guess, like, I don't know for sure here, right? But to me, they're not going to hurt themselves. They're not going to box it unless the contract is terrible. But I don't think Kent Hughes is going to sign a terrible deal. So, and I think Dvorak will probably want to stay. So we'll see how it goes.
Good point. I think for me, I see when you look at the boat, right? The utility of each player, what they bring for the team. And I think this is where you have to figure out that. I think it's a slightly advantage to Dvorak because he's a center. He's the only one. He's the left side, I believe, if I'm right. And we don't know yet, Marco, if the Montreal is going to get a second center or they're going to deal with the Doc New, whatever it is. So I think you talk about security, Dvorak over Armia. And I feel for me, you need to bring something inside the Montreal Canadiens. And we talk about at the bottom, Heineman and Armia and Evans, right? So Evans already have a contract. So I think for me, Armia have to go. And you have to keep a Dvorak. All depends the salary, all depends the longevity of the contract at the end. The clash, the clash, guys. It's not like one you're going to like a lot more prediction wise because we have the end of the season. So it's not like one player versus one or whatever it is. So, but I still have a couple of good questions, and it's all about what you feel is going to happening. So the first one, Marco, we're going to start with you. Lennartson will have 62 points a plus at the end of the year. 15 games to go. I believe he is at 5 plus 48 or 49. I believe 53.
Yeah.
I think he's at 53 right now. Yeah. I don't, coach, he's almost at a point per game right now. So, even considering that his production goes down a little bit to less than point per game, then I think, unless there's injury or something like that, I absolutely think he can get over 62 points. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, guys. I think, at 53, with the type of ice or the amount of ice time that he's getting in key situations, especially on the power play, and how he's feeding Line as well, Caulfield. I mean, I think he gets there, no problem.
Most of the people agree with absolutely about Lennartson. Here we go. And our top, you are right there on that one. The Atlantic Division will have 5 teams in the playoff.
That's essentially that's a roundabout way of asking if Montreal is going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's asking. I'm going to go with absolutely. I think just the way Montreal is playing right now, like Ottawa, I think should be, barring any major slump that they go into right now, or injuries that they may incur, should be the number one wild card team. And I think Montreal should have enough just to hang on the rest of the way, because they're just, I just love the way they're playing. They're playing as a unit, as a team, and that's that and the fact that they, some teams that are close to them, i.e., the Rangers, have played 2 extra games than them, right? So I think that key game is going to be tomorrow, because both the Islanders and Montreal have 67 games, and right now they're 3 points apart. So you want to put them out of your you want to put them in your rear view mirror, and because 5 points will be almost impossible for the Islanders to make up the rest of the way. But if you allow them to win that game in regulation, then it becomes a little bit dicier. So I'm going to go with absolutely. I think Montreal gets it.
I hate you for this question, Coach, because you're going to make me say something I don't want to say out loud.
He's going to clip this and put it in the video.
Yeah, I don't want to say this out loud, like, because I don't want it to be true, right? Like, I want Montreal to make the playoffs. Like, more than anything, I want them to make the playoffs.
Ottawa can be out, Marco.
I doubt it.
Yeah, like
but Ottawa, it is still not in, right? So, it makes sense. So I just want to say that the schedule is not easy, and they have to play 4 games. This is the only team.
So can I answer this and say which one I don't think won't make it? Because I'll do that. That way,
you can say if 5 teams not going to make it.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just be very vague and say I don't think there'll be 5 teams that makes it into the. Actually, you know what?
Detroit.
I was just gonna say, you know what? Yes, 5 teams from the Atlantic Division will make it.
There we go. That's what I want to hear. So, Marco, the next question: Montreal will win versus Islanders tomorrow night.
By the way, Marco, notice coach isn't giving his his clash.
I'm too busy right now, Mr.
Nartov. Too busy. Wait a minute. I'm very busy. I'm very busy in the chat right now too, Coach. Can you do this one? I don't know, okay, so for tomorrow, guys, I don't have a good feeling about this one. Not just because I think Montreal matches up pretty well against the Islanders. I'm assuming Sorokin's going to play, so that's always a tough matchup there. But the one thing that makes me scared is that Montreal had such an emotional high against a rivalry team like the Senators. I'm a little nervous that they're going to be able to get up to that same level of intensity and be ready for the game. You know what it's like sometimes? Like you play like a huge rivalry game and then you play a team like the Islanders. It's not the same. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't. I think it's a really important game because then they play Colorado on Saturday. So, but I don't have a good feeling about tomorrow. Sorry, guys. I hope I'm wrong, man.
Check about this guy. Before in our type, you answered that one. You talk about skill, talent, and Montreal play very well. The 4 line, everything like that. But who we said this? First line, Simon Armstrong, Bo Horvat, and Kyle Palmieri. The second line, Anders Lee, Pajot, Duclair. Third line, Fashion, Zizikas, Pierre Egval. The fourth line, Siplakov, McLean, and Gad Combe. The defenseman, Pelesh D'Angelo, Polak Thompson, Raleigh, and Mankfield. Romanov is out, and Mathieu Barzal is out. So, lineup by lineup, like on the
I know lineup wise, yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's like they cannot beat that team when you beat all those other teams. But Marco, I agree with you. It's a trap game because you go on the fly, you play one game, and then you come back in Montreal. And I'm scared Montreal thinking already Colorado. So it would take a good job of Martin St. Louis to keep everything focused on only one game. It's one night. This is the game for me of the trap of the week. They can lose Colorado, but they cannot lose tomorrow night against the New York Islanders.
Because they're going to play scared against the Avalanche, right? Like,
yeah,
I think they're going to play a good game against the Avalanche because you look at the lineup and you can't make mistakes, right? So you're right. It's going to be a mental. It's a mental test. It would be a great test, and it will show how focused, like you said, Sandy, we can get the guys. But I hope I'm wrong, man. Like, but I that just scares me for tomorrow, I guess.
And after.
I absolutely disagree with you guys. They will not treat this as a trap game. They will not see it as that because if they're looking on paper at the two teams that they're playing next, they're definitely thinking that it's going to be harder to get a point or two out of Colorado than it is with the Islanders. And the fact, as I said earlier, that they're 3 points ahead of them, and they can clearly put them out of their sight with a solid regular time victory. I think that that's the motivation that they'll have there. Now, make no mistake about it. The key here is going to be making sure that they get off to a good start, because the Islanders play a sound defensive game too. Now,
Yeah.
it's fortuitous for us that Barzal is out of the lineup and now Romanov as well, so that helps. Their goaltending is solid, and we saw the other night they fell behind 2-0 and then scored 3 or 4 quick goals. They do this constantly. They like to go to overtime a lot of times. So they play a tight, low-scoring game for the majority of time. So if Montreal can get out to that 1 or 2-0 lead right away, it's going to be hard for the Islanders to produce the offense that they need to beat Montreal. But having said all of that, my prediction for the 3 games this week was 6 points or 5 points, and we have 4 in the bank already. So I think we can get 1 point for sure. Hopefully 2, but 1 point for sure out of this one. So I'm going to say absolutely.
My only thing would be, honestly, my only concern me is if one goalie can steal a game is Zorokin. And this is what I'm a little bit worried about that. And then emotional, the Islanders right now feel the vibe. They came back for the deficit of 2-0 and they went 4-2. They come back home. I just feel like this is a huge impact for the Montreal Canadiens. We'll see happening. Anyway, Gilbert Delam is at the game tomorrow night with Dezo and with Ladon, so that will help him maybe them. In our top, Montreal Canadiens 2025 are going to have 2 new centers.
2 new centers. Yes. I think one of them will end up being Beck, if you can consider that a new center. And I definitely think they're going for a 2C center this summer, either at the draft or at the free. Well, I don't see so much Montreal getting their 2C from the from the free agency market. I still think it'll be a trade because they have the assets to actually consummate that kind of a trade that will benefit possibly both teams. And I do believe that they will have 2 new centers.
I'm going to say there's just one. So, yeah, I hopefully Ken Hughes can hopefully make something happen this summer to get a good second line center. That's all that's the buzz. That's the big thing this summer. We're all going to be holding our breath, hoping he can make that happen. But like I said, I think either Dvorak or I don't consider Beck a new center. So I think somebody from the inside is going to be, yeah. So, but I think
the thing.
At least, yeah.
I said none at all on that one. I think only one center.
Yeah. Which one? Which one?
This is for the next show, Mr. Nartap.
So you don't think Beck will be on the team next year?
No, Dak will be there. New Hope will be there. Dvorak will be there. J.K. will be there. Nick Suzuki will be there. And they're going to add one more. But
so then 2.
Dak will be a winger, and New Hope will be a winger.
Yeah, that's irrelevant, right? Like, yeah. But I still think it'll be 2 new centers. Like, I'm considering Beck a new center.
But as a center or as a winger?
Well, they might use him as a winger, but he's a center, right?
But when we talk about 2 new centers, Mr. Tap, we talk about Suzuki, a center, Christian Dvorak, and Jake Evans. So this is my 4th center. The 2nd center, I don't know who's going to be. And I think Dvorak should resign, Jake Evans the 4, and Suzuki the 1st.
But I think what they're working towards, Coach, they're also trying to stack 1 or 2 of their lines with a second centerman on the wings. They'll be playing on the wings so that they can interchange at any time during faceoffs. They can use them. There'll be more versatility and flexibility for Marty St. Louis to use as well, and it also equips them in case of injuries. Like you'll be strong down the middle. So that's why I say I say they'll get a 2C from a trade, and I think Beck is your other one, even if they use him on the wing, right?
I'm surprised you. I would think Owen Beck will start at Laval next year.
I'm with you on that.
How about
I think he
Kapanen?
does. Also,
How about Kapanen?
Again with
Also.
Laval.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
You're not wrong when you talk about that way, Mr. Nota. When you talk him as the winger, definitely compare the center. Marco, Saint Louis and or Islanders in the playoff.
St. Louis and or Isles in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, I think a couple weeks ago I picked St. Louis to make the playoffs, and I stick with that.
We both did. We both
yeah.
did.
Yeah. I don't think I'm not a huge believer in the Isles, although like again, I give them their due, right? Like they battle. Patrick Roy's got them fighting, and again the goaltending is really good. I just don't think they have the horses to get there. So I'm gonna say St. Louis. So not at all. I'll say or like St. Louis, yes, but I don't see the Isles making it.
I would agree. I think St. Louis. I maintained that earlier. Even though they have 69 games that they've played, so they're going to need a little bit of help along the way.
I'm going to help you, Mr. Natap. But didn't help Marco. I'm going to help you.
Should I be offended by that?
Montreal, Calgary, Columbus, Vancouver. The next 4 game Islanders. Then they have the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Carolina Hurricane. For them, Tampa Bay again, Minnesota, Washington, Nashville Rangers, Flyers, Devils, Washington, and Columbus. So the schedule of Islanders is not like a bad one. It's half of the game is pretty good, strong team, but they still have 2 games Tampa Bay, 2 games the Washington Capitals, and 1 game the New York Islanders, the Devils, and the Carolina Hurricanes. So the rest is like bottom 5. So Islanders guys could play at least 500 right there.
But you just listed their lineup, right? Look at their lineup, coach. But he just listed their lineup. Like I just don't see.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, Marco. But they're still winning right now. What they have, that's the biggest problem. Yeah. I see that. But if I have a choice right now, mine will be yes, absolutely. I think the Blues right now with under Jim Montgomery is on fire right now.
Right now, Coach, if you look at Tankathon, the Islanders have the 4th easiest schedule remaining the rest of the way, and Montreal is at 18th. But again, I don't put much credence behind that because they're just ranking them according to the winning percentages of the team at that moment, right? So it's not a great barometer to go by. I see St. Louis getting in. I don't necessarily see the Islanders.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's the logic, like Marco said. I agree with him about that. Doesn't make sense.
But it makes tomorrow night's game that much more important, right? Because you'll see
more
that
for the Islanders. More for Islanders because if they lose tomorrow, this push back 4-point game there. This is a huge compared to Montreal.
Absolutely.
So
if they fall behind Montreal by 5 points, they're not going to make that up.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this, Marco. I want to keep you on the time. And my last one was about Luciano, so I'm going to skip the last question on the clip on the claps because I want to finish with that. I think it's very important. But Marco is not there all the time, so to have Marco around that, and I think it would be very interesting subject in the chat too. And I want to finish with many other things, but one thing happening because we talk about the Blues. The Blues did something not many do. And I'm talking about the offer sheet from the Edmonton Oilers last year. And I think Holloway have a great year. He's over 20 goals this season, Marco. Brober stabilized the defensive. Jim Montgomery behind that. Bennington have a good year. So, do you believe the Montreal Canadiens with Ken Hughes. Because the asset, they don't want to trade Michael Edge or Jacob Fuller or whatever it is, right? They could go that direction.
Okay, so can
Would
I
you
say
like
so?
to know the list of the RFA, Marco?
Sure. Before we look at the numbers, or before we look at the players, I think this is a great list and it's going to be a fun conversation. But there's one thing that's really, really different from last year to this year is that the salary cap is going up, right? What made it really tricky for teams that were pressed against the cap was that the cap was frozen for the last several years, right? So, in a way, it's unlucky timing for Kent Hughes because, and it's the same thing for kind of like us being able to make trades for players, right? Like it's going to be, it's not the best environment for Kent Hughes because for the first time in many years, teams are going to be willing to kind of hold on to players and do things, right? Compared to before where teams were stuck. So I think it should be part of Montreal's plan. Like Ken Hughes, by the way, Ken Hughes should have a plan for everything to get a second center next year. Whether it's signing a UFA, that should be one plan. Trading for a youngish, kind of like a veteran center. And another part of the plan, another element or way to do it is to move up in the draft to draft one of the more high end centers in the draft. Those are all different ways that Montreal can get the asset that they need. Now they're slightly different assets, right? But I think all those, like how in the draft we talk about how they go into the draft with 1,000 different possibilities of what can happen, and they have to plan for all those different possibilities. I'm pretty sure that's what Ken Hughes is doing with his summer right now. So one of those possibilities, as you've listed here, is offer sheet. So out of the players here, coach, you're saying that all these are restricted free agents
Yeah.
on other teams, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at that for a second. So if we focus specifically on centers, you've got Vilardi, you've got McTavish, Rossi, and Voronkov. They're playing him a center right now, but I'm not sure he's really a center. But I like him. Like he's big. Like I really like that kid. Obviously, we all love McTavish, but there's no way. Like Anaheim has so much cap space. There's no way that they're not going to match whatever is thrown their way. LA are in a little bit of a different position with their salary cap, but they have a lot of invested in Vilardi. So I don't, and he's a right-hand shot, so I'm not sure Montreal would target him either.
You mean
Voronkov
Winnipeg?
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry, Winnipeg. Yeah, Winnipeg also in a tough spot with their salary cap as well, but I don't think they're going to move off him. And again, I don't think it's a fit for Montreal. He's a right-hand shot. Voronkov is a left-hand shot, but I don't think he's a natural center. We don't want another Doc, right? We want a proven center, not somebody who we think can play at center. And so I don't think that he meets that. So, and then for right-hand defenseman, obviously there's Dobson, right? But I don't think Lamoriello is going to let it come to that. I'm surprised he didn't move him at the deadline. Maybe that's something that he maybe trades his rights in the offseason to try to get something back if they're not able to sign him, or maybe a sign and trade or something like that. So not a lot of like great targets, coach, for centers. And again, you have to look at the situation. You can't just look at the player, right? You have to look at the situation of the team and like if they're a good partner too, right? So I don't understand which ones on this list do you think would be ripe for an offer sheet?
Well, I think what you were saying is bang on in terms of looking at the team and what their situation is there cap wise. Like the interesting one for me would be, and again, I think they sign him, but it will make them sweat quite a bit, and that's Matthew Nyes. I know he's not a natural center, but he could definitely fit into that role, no problem, because they still have the whole Marner situation to look at. They have the Marner situation to resolve. They have the Tavares situation to resolve. Their cap space is not great, So,
But he's never played
tonight,
center. He's never played center in his life, though. He's a winger, man. Like he doesn't play
yeah,
center at
I
all.
know, I know. He is. That's my point. Like, you
Yeah,
can make it difficult on the Leafs, which would bring great joy to us all, but I don't think that happens. To be honest with you,
no,
and to be honest, I don't see this. I don't see it in the DNA of Hughes to go about it the RFA way. I mean, I could be totally wrong on it. I think one thing that he is a guy that tries to establish links with everybody out there, right? Like he wants to be on a certain level with everybody and upfront with what he does. And I think the way they get their 2C is by a trade, even if they end up overpaying for him, because they have
yeah.
those assets. I don't. While they will have a plan B, C, and D, I don't think that
Plan A is trade.
they'll.
Plan A is for sure
Yeah,
trade.
absolutely. And uh, um, you mentioned the draft. Of course, they'll pick up a center, but it's not going to address the need for next year, right? Like he'll
No,
be at least 2, 3 years, possibly
no.
4 years
But so
away.
what that plan would be, Intertap, is so let's say you just Ken Hughes decides to spend his wad, so to speak, like make his big spend on getting that second center, but it's a young guy. Like let's say he can go get Frondell or Mike Misa or somebody like that, right? Like he puts all the chips in the middle and moves up in the draft and gets like one of those guys. Then what you can do is then you can go sign a UFA, for like 2 years or something like
Or a
that, like
couple
get
of
an
years,
older
yeah.
and get a transition guy and then wait for him. So you could do it that way as well. But bottom line, they want to secure a medium to long term solution for the second line center role. So there's a lot of different ways to do that, combinations of things that you can do, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
you can't miss like like you guys might remember, but in the past, like, and some people criticize me for this too, but I said like the job that Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon did so far was the easiest part. Selling off and getting
Yeah.
assets is the easy part. But now the roster construction, this is where
And
it gets
and
tricky,
the
guys.
hard decisions have to come.
Hard decisions. You've evaluated all your players. Which assets are you giving up? And like you don't get to do this twice. Like this is like you've been like let's say think like you've been saving all your money in your bank account for 40 years to buy a house or buy a new car or whatever. And you buy a house or a car and it's a lemon. Like it has all these problems, it doesn't work. You spend all your life savings and the thing that you bought wasn't good. It wasn't good value. Like either like you bought a really nice house but the neighborhood was terrible so the value goes down, or you bought like a lemon of a car and it's got all these problems. So Montreal can't afford to make a mistake. They've already made some mistakes here. Like you could argue, like Kachuk and Kakanyemi. You could, there's different mistakes like Mishar over Kulik. Like a couple other little mistakes here and there in terms of drafting and things like that, right? So they can't afford to make a mistake. This is like the whole future of the Montreal Canadiens rebuild. You can argue is this summer. Like it really rides on what's going to happen this summer, getting this center. So they have to have a lot of different plans. And like I said, guys, I think because the salary cap is going up, even though it was a brilliant move by Armstrong to do that last summer, reading the situation. And by the way, Stan Bowman completely ruined the Edmonton Oilers season this year by signing Arvidsson and players like that and putting himself in a position where he wasn't able to
Skinner,
re-sign Skinner, like terrible asset management. And Edmonton, like their depth is suffering for it. And I don't think that they're as good of a team as they were last year going into the playoffs. So guys, I can't overstate how important this summer is for the Montreal Canadiens, but I don't think offer sheet is the way. And I don't think there's going to be
yeah,
many this summer.
Good
I
question.
don't
Good
think it's
answer about that. To finish that one, I will finish with that question for both of you. So if they don't go with that direction, I feel like it's they need a
trade.
solid center number two, and that would cost over $8 million. So the cost and return on the first year will be a little bit more difficult. So I look about everything on the center and the NHL. That's okay, Villardi, but now they may be losing Nicolas Heller. Is it a Nicolas Heller an option for the Montreal Canadiens, or they really targeting more like a guy like Bo Horvat for the Montreal Canadiens? So you have two
Well,
options: a
Nikolai,
UFA versus a trade about that. So
who,
final question tonight for in our time.
No, I'm not sure I understood what who did you say, Coach?
So as
Nikolai
a
Ehlers?
UFA, you have Nicolas Eller for the
Ehlers?
Winnipeg Jet.
Oh, he's not a center
Winnipeg.
either. He's a winger.
Oh,
But
Nikolai Ehlers.
Ehlers.
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
played
he's
both
not a
sides.
center. Yeah, but he's not a
He's
center, and
He's
good
not a
move.
I
regular
find
center for sure. But on the
right.
transition, would you prefer to have a player like him versus a
No.
player you can trade for Bo Horvat? Because for me, for all the center number two, Bo Horvat is my
Yeah.
number one candidate because he's a left side
Yeah.
shooter, and he will fix honestly the PK. You know what I mean? He play a different role inside the team, and I think this is
Bumper
the
on the
one I
power
was
play.
targeting.
Well,
Good,
for me,
good pick.
Coach, it's three guys I'll bring up, right? I mean, I brought up Bo Horvat a while back, and I would love for him to be here. I think that he would be the perfect 2C for Montreal. But it's going to come at a bit of a price tag, and you have to manufacture that trade as well. Number two, if you can somehow put a nice package together for McTavish, that would be an excellent pick. And Marco has said that, on a consistent basis, and I agree with him on it. And number three for me, like we were talking about it off air earlier, that I really think would fit perfectly would be a Joel Eriksson Ek from Minnesota. If you can get that guy at 6'3", and he does everything, he plays the 200-foot game. He can score. He gets you consistently anywhere between 45 to 55 points a year, and is so responsible. He plays on the penalty kill as well. He's on the power play. Like, this guy is very, very versatile. And with the exception of this year, he usually plays an entire season as well. So that's where I think the focus could be. Like, we don't know what inevitably Hughes is got going in his head and what kind of conversations he's already sort of kicked the tires on with the different GMs already to sort of set the stage. But uh, I think any one of those three players would be the perfect player to bring in at that position. That also fits the timeline, right? Like, they're all around. Well, McTavish is the youngest, and the other two, I believe, are both 28. I want to say.
Horvat's like 30.
And
Horvat's like 30.
oh, he's 30. Okay, so he's a little bit older. But Eriksson Ek is 28, and he's still got 3 years on his contract at a very friendly 5.25 million a year. So that would be the absolute perfect fit in my eyes.
Sure. Listen, I just don't think Minnesota's letting Eriksson Ek go. I just don't think, again, to me, what you have to look at, guys, is teams that are in a position where why are they moving a guy? Just because you're overpaying, like, even if you're paying them a whole bunch of assets, a GM like Bill Guerin, like, their job is on the line, right? Like, they're not building a team for a future GM like 5 years from now. It's not like it's like they have to win, right? So I don't think Bill Guerin is in a position where he's going to move Eriksson Ek. I don't think that they have the depth right now in their prospect pool to come in and replace a player like Eriksson Ek. And Montreal's not going to be able to trade somebody that's going to come help them right away. But I'm with you with Bo Horvat, Coach. I think he's only got, I don't know if you have his contract in front of you, but I think he's got 4 years left. It's I think that's a good short term or midterm thing.
59.9 face off right now.
And how many years does he have left on his deal?
4 years.
And he's 30, right? He's
Yes.
30 years old. Yeah. So to me, that's
wise, experience wise, veteran wise, and the way he bring on the table, he fixed a lot of old Montreal.
Yeah, I think I'm with you 100% on Horvat. I think like what you don't want to do is sign like what Kent Hughes has said he doesn't want to do is sign a 30-year-old guy for an 8-year contract. So to me, this is kind of like a middle ground, right? So he's 30 years old. You're probably gonna not hate the first, like maybe the last year of his contract becomes a little tougher, but it gives you a little, it buys you a little bit of time. Left hand shot, like perfect prototype to go behind Nick Suzuki. Great on the bumper on the power play, like he's lethal
Yeah, yeah.
in the bumper on the power play. So I love Bo Horvat, but then there's other players that
But
you have to look at.
Marco,
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but what would make it easier to pry him, a Horvat, rather than Eriksson Ek? Because
because
I
I think
think
the
if they're
Islanders, but I think the Islanders they're closer to a team that knows they have to retool than Minnesota. Minnesota is not retooling. They have Kaprizov, they have Faber, they have all these great young players. They've been waiting for the last 3 years. They were in salary cap hell, right, with the Suter and the Parise contracts. Guerin has been on the record saying that he's just waiting until the dead cap on his cap goes away so that he can start spending again. So I don't see them being a team like we know Lou Lamoriello is stubborn, but he did sell off like Nelson. Like you can tell that they know they need to retool a little bit. So I'm not saying it's a guarantee that they'll move Horvat, but it makes more sense that the Islanders are in a phase that they're going to be retooling. Minnesota is not a retooling team. Like they have a lot going on, and I think Guerin wants to win right now. So I don't see them being in a position to move Eriksson Ek at all.
Good point about that. Look, this is going to be interesting. I just want to make a mistake. It's 3 years following this season.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah,
4 years, but it was 3 years now
So-
for 8.5.
okay.
The
That's
cost,
a good deal.
I don't know, but that would
I think
be
it's like 8 million. It's like 8 million or something.
8.5.
Yeah. I like it,
compared to
Coach.
5.2.
What do you think would cost you to get Bo Horvat out of the island?
Well, they worked hard to get him out of Vancouver, right? Like that's why I don't think they'll necessarily budge on that. It'll take a boatload. They'll want an established centerman, and we don't have that. That was part of the reason why we didn't land Cousins as well, because
Different though. Like
at least
Buffalo-
Ottawa had a center to give back. Montreal
Yeah.
didn't.
You really compare Buffalo and the Islanders? Like Buffalo, you can understand. Like Buffalo, there's no chance they're trading for futures, but the Islanders need to get younger. They need to add youth, and like that's why they were super excited to draft Yzerman last year, right? Because they have zero talent in their pipeline. So like that's why I think Montreal and the Islanders, if Lamoriello understands his team and where they are correctly, which he should, like everybody in the NHL agrees that the Islanders need to retool. There's no way they can be competitive with the roster that they have now. They can't. They're too
But
slow. They're too old.
That's their number one center, though. That's the hard part, right?
Well,
At least-
Barzell, they still have Barzell,
Yeah.
right? Like that's I
Yeah.
don't know. Hard to say, but I think it's a
hard.
much closer marriage than some other places. But that's what we need to look at, Coach. Like I'm sure Kent Hughes is going to surprise us, and it's going to be like somebody that we didn't even think of, and we'll be super.
Well,
like I said, like it could be like a Dvorsky in St. Louis or somebody like that.
The other name that's floating out there is also Nazem Kadri from Calgary,
Yeah.
and that wouldn't be
I
a
don't
bad
think
fit
Calgary's
either. I
retooling
mean,
either. They're not
he brings
retooling
a bit
either.
of sand.
I don't think they're retooling. Like they could have retooled at the trade deadline, but I think again, like I think a lot of these teams, like one thing that guys, one trend that we've noticed in the last while, a lot of management teams do not want to do full rebuilds anymore. That's going to become out of fashion.
I think the
Sens-
Washington way they did that was why they tried to do that direction.
Exactly. And like they see what's happening in Buffalo and
Well,
places like that. They don't want
It's the
full
path.
rebuilds.
It's the path of least resistance, right? But let's face it. Like I know they made good moves, Washington, this summer, but a lot of things fell in their lap too. Like a great year
For
out of
every
Strome, The picks
Yeah.
that they made were very good. I mean, it could all go sideways if any one of those players sort of recedes next year and doesn't play to the same level. But
For
yeah,
every
you got to credit.
Washington, there's 5 Nashvilles that try to do a retool like that, right?
You're right. So it's riskier, but it's the path of least resistance. Like to
Well, I
rebuild,
think
let's face it, 5 years does not do it. Like they used to, the proverbial saying goes. It takes
no.
anywhere from up to 8 to 10 years sometimes.
There's zero guarantees. Zero guarantees it's going to work. Zero
Right.
guarantees that you're going to get you're never sure. Like look at Montreal, right? Like we love Slafkovsky, but that's not a generational player. So you can get lucky like the Leafs or the Oilers, and you get like a generational player. But it's like
We
so.
got lucky.
I think
We
like
got lucky with
overall, I think
Suzuki.
we got lucky with Hudson. Like again, like it's kind of like darts, right? Like the more darts you have to throw at the board, that's probably what really made Montreal the most successful with their rebuild so far. Is that they had so many assets that some of them hit, some of them didn't. Some of like so, we've done really good on some, and some maybe underperforming. But yeah, you're gonna see guys like the days of like these hardcore teardowns like we're seeing in Chicago. Like the Bedard experiment is not going super well in Chicago right now. It's like he's very unhappy there. That rebuild is not going super well, and other management teams are seeing that. So for a team like Montreal, who is looking for teams that are looking to kind of like get rid of assets, it makes it harder because the trend is going the other way, right? Like teams are not as aggressive, going to start giving away assets for futures. So that's my only concern this summer. It's not going to be easy for Hughes. Just because you have a lot of money, it doesn't mean that the right assets are going to be there for you to buy. So I wish him the best because I know how important it is to get a second center, but it's going to be tricky. There's not a lot out there for him to get.
I know, Marco, you have to go in our top two. One more question, then you can go and everybody else. But after all the comments in the chat, yeah, it's fun opinion. Everything is our own, and we are all. I'm not better to anybody too. But my question for both of you will be: is it because the way you talk, Marco, is it absolutely necessary for the Montreal Canadiens to add a center number 2 for this upcoming season, or they can wait one more year and to consider to evaluate the New York, the DAC, or whatever it is, and go organically from the inside for one more year and go all the way diving on the center. Whatsoever can you mention that direction?
I think it's not. I think it's the wrong question. I think they are going to be super, super aggressive to get that second line center, but they're not going to. If it's not there, it's not there. So it's not that there's a better the best solution is to find one this summer, 100%. But
through a trade.
if the fit's not there, you're not going to shoot yourself in the foot. It's not like these assets are not just going to go away this summer, right? So if you can't get it, then you'd be dumb to kind of like just do something just for the sake of doing something. So if you can't find what you need this summer, then you're gonna have to be patient. And we'll all be frustrated, and I'm sure a lot of people will be very mad at Kent Hughes. But I'm warning everybody, it's not going to be easy. Like in French, we would say, "Tout le monde va le voir venir d'un mille." Like everybody's going to see him coming a mile away. Everybody in the league knows what Montreal is going to need next year, and a lot of other teams need centers as well. Like centers, there's a reason why you have to draft them. So that's why I'm saying it's not out of the realm of possibility that Kent Hughes spends his wad on moving up into the draft to draft a center, and then use other assets to try to get a more short-term solution for next year and the next couple of years. But we need one. Is it necessary? Well, it's ideal, I would say, is the better word than necessary.
That's a great answer, by the way. The way you explained to us. about that. And after you want to add something about that one, or you think,
No, I was just
yes,
gonna
I
say,
agree,
and
I agree with
I
Marco.
I see his point, but I think that they'll approach it from one of two perspectives. Either they're not going for a project, right? I think they've explored that avenue, and they're in a position now where they've seen this year that their biggest hole was that second line, and they need the proper centerman there to also get guys like Line A, and if you get Demidov coming next year, like you need that perfect centerman to complement these two players and get the most out of them. So I do see them. I do see it more as a necessity. How he goes about doing it is the real question mark, right? Like he could go offer sheet. I don't know. He could go a straight out trade for somebody that will be signed for 7-8 years, or he might say, okay, well, as Marco said, it's not easy to consummate such a deal. So let's see if we can get somebody that can come in that's a little bit more experienced, but not a long contract, right? It's just a stopgap for, let's say, 3 years, 2 to 3 years, until maybe a Michael Hage or somebody else is ready to fill that void.
I think the good news, guys, is that based on what I've seen from Kent Hughes, and by the way, he's done a whole bunch of interviews over the last couple of days while he was in the Board of Governor meetings in Florida. So for us fans who consume Habs information as quickly as possible, great interviews from Kent Hughes. I'm sure Coach will be covering it in the next couple of days, some of the information that came out. The big takeaway for me from what I've heard from Hughes recently, I'm very confident that he understands the traps that are there that he could fall into this summer. And for me, that's the most important thing. Like, you can criticize him all you want for not being able to get something done, but the thing I would be the most disappointed and critical of is him making a huge mistake. I would rather him do nothing than make a terrible mistake and sign like a Steven Stamkos. Did you guys see the video I sent you in our chat, by the way, guys? About like stars that sign after 30 years old and the probability of their production going dramatically down after, like, the data is there, right? It's so clear, and some teams are just so desperate to fill that hole. So the one thing I feel very good about, I'm very confident that Kent Hughes knows the dangers of the mistakes that he can make. So he may not be able to get the center that we want, but I'm pretty confident he's not going to make a terrible mistake that's going to sink the organization for the next 8 years. So I guess that's a glass half full way to look at it, I guess.
No, that's great to see. We have to be patient. And I just want to remember everybody, guys, it's not fact what we had tonight. And the playoff, we're going to make the playoff. And possibly we could missing the playoff. But it's the curve of the rebuilding team for the Montreal Canadiens. The only thing we don't want is come back after that. It could happen. You never know what it would be. I have full confidence about Ken Hughes to find a way, the best solution. It could be intern or it be from outside. You have many options, like Marco said. You have free, offer sheet, trading, and many other ways. So I have definitely expect Ken Hughes make some things on the summer. But this is going to be the most important thing, guys. The most important thing is about the next game only. It's tomorrow night against the New York Islanders. Hope the Montreal can continue with a 9-1-2 for the Montreal Canadiens. We expect Montreal to bounce back and on the road against the New York Islanders. So, final words for both of you. Expectation for tomorrow night, Marco.
I just hope for a great game. I hope they continue to play the right way. I just hope they stay concentrated. And I hope for a big effort by the guys. No prediction for me, but hoping they can pull out a big win.
And that's that.
Yeah. It'll be a very low-scoring game in my eyes. I think both goalies will hang tight, but we're going to have to get out to that quick lead. I think that's the most important part.
What a great show without All of them will not be impossible because that's the reason we grow. We will get better and the Montreal play better.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Hopefully the dog is fine, Mr. Marco. We are a little bit nervous about him right now.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit nervous too.
There you go.
We'll
Time
see.
to go. Time to go in our tap about that one there.
So's the dog.
We wish you a great night, both of you. I can't wait to see you tomorrow night on the show talking about the Montreal Canadiens. Thanks, Marco. Always a pleasure to see you around. And after, we wish you an amazing, great week. And the rest of you week, I can't wait to see you next Sunday for the weekly report. Have both great evening. Thanks again to join us tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Here we go. There was in our tap and Marco at the co-host of the Notebook. Hopefully, you guys you enjoyed the show tonight. We want to thank RJ Calabo, the news update. Of course, moderator Ron and Luciano Danny T pop up tonight. Thanks for all the likes. We got another great 70 likes tonight, guys. The vibe of the Montreal, the favor of the club is around. Our Canadian show want to tell you more things. Be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate the day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Someone will said 2025. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. I will see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock p.m. Oh. It's coming. Peace out. Booyah. Good night, everybody.